Welcome to the People's Guild.
Each week we explore the Splinterland universe with guests from all across the mythical land of Praetoria.
Join us on our journey as we discuss the evolution of the game, the strategy, the lore, and the exciting path that lies ahead.
To support the People's Guild, make sure you subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcasts, and also check us out on PeakD, YouTube, and Twitter.
Send your questions, suggestions, and epic battles in our comments through Twitter or email at thepeoplesguildspl@gmail.com. We'll feature the best in our episodes and maybe airdrop you some prizes.
Thanks for tuning in and enjoy the show.
Welcome back to the People's Guild. Another week, another episode, another wonderful guest. This is a man we had on. We were just talking dates before we pushed record, and it was more than a year ago. Time certainly flies. Things have certainly changed since then, both personally and within Splinterlands. Quick shout out to Aqualis. Go check out the marketplace. They're giving cashbacks, and they're as far as I know, we've got some user interface updates coming quickly and swiftly down the pipeline. So always improving that user experience over at Aqualis. Go check it out. So without further ado, we've got the man who has coined hashtag play with your bags. We heard all about that last time and lots to talk about this time. We've got RoguePatton. What's up, brother? It's really good to see you, man.
What's going on, Jangles? Long time, brother. Long time.
Yeah, man, great to have you. I love that last episode. I thought that line was brilliant. That play with your bags line. I was like, oh yeah, that's really cool. That makes a lot of sense because all this other stuff. Yeah, it's fun to be like, you can stick some stuff in a DeFi and passively earn income, but it's like it's better to kind of get that passive income or active income through playing a game too. So definitely glad we can get you back on and have a chat with you. Though I do want to kind of kick it off and give you the floor, open it up. I know after our last episode, you sent some messages to B Jangles, so please defend back to basics for me. Go ahead. Let's see you do it.
Just right out the gate.
Yeah.
Back to basics has always been the rule set in my mind where like you can show off skill and not be hindered as much by RNG. Essentially, the only RNG that you have to deal with there is speed. Right. And speed by itself isn't that crazy. Right. So then that's when you really start to focus on, positioning, rule sets, how they intertwine, and then your summoners. And so Virus talked about it last week. My first back to basics that I ran a Possibilis, that was nuts. It felt great reaching in a back to basics. I was like, this is not even fair, But yeah, there's been many opportunities. Like there's a specific way in which you have to order your stuff based on like HP and speed that I actually really appreciate. Because there's kind of, I don't know, there's just some intuition in there that you gotta figure out. And then whatever rule set they end up throwing in there with the back to basics usually makes it pretty silly. So, but yeah, like specifically the back to basics melee only, like that's fun. I don't know what you're talking about, like trying to plan through those, like because everybody's going to be on Possibilis, so you're playing in tramples, you're trying to position your stuff in a way to like mid to late game be all right. Like I love back to basics because I hate RNG, and champion is all RNG. It is nuts up here. I don't know how you do this, Jangles. This is crazy.
I live and die by RNG, man. How did you fare last season? Did you touch Champ 1? No.
Did 3 days before we were there, and then I just fell from there, like dropped 200 points and then just hovered until like the final minutes and then made a push. And I made a great push. Got to my last flipping energy.
Wow.
And I needed to, like, I was on a win streak. Everything was going great. That win was going to put me into, and potentially, if it was somebody really good, I was going to like go on to leaderboard then from that point, because leaderboard was literally like 10 points into C1. Like that's
Mm.
the crazy part, is if you're fighting for C1, you're also accidentally fighting for leaderboard. Like, so you just get to do both. In my last battle was against Maze. You know, you talked about him last week, Guildy WSS. And mad respect for that player, 100%. But I got him in this one. I got him. If I look at the simulation says I'm 100% chance to win. Now, clearly, I didn't win, so there might be something slightly wrong with the simulation, but Dr. Blight landed 0 poisons. I missed, like my hill giant missed with a 10% chance to miss. Like that's what I like. There was everything that could possibly go wrong went wrong for me to lose that match. And so I ended up messaging him after, and I was like, bro, I'm gonna feel that one in my heart forever. Like that one's just gonna stick with me forever. And he's like, yeah, I needed that one to get back into top 10. And I'm like, well, at least somebody got something out of this. You're welcome.
Oh
But
boy.
yeah, that one hurt, you know, because I was hot. I was very hot, and we were doing very good. And it was the last one because there isn't at that point, you know, I'm basically at work already. I don't have the ability to buy energy at work. I'm doing whatever I have on my phone, and that's it. And yeah, that was it. That was the last one. And I'm like, ah, man, if I go look, I'm only maybe 20 points because he was so high up on the leaderboard. I didn't even lose that much ranking. So last season,
Yeah, so I was trying to look up. You finished like 66, so
66.
4248.
Yeah, there it was. So yeah, let me I think that last battle, maybe
Probably
he
need
did
another
knock me
60 or
down quite a
70. Yeah.
bit. He might have knocked me down more than I thought. But yeah, we were, and then yeah, he ended up top 10. Yeah, he ended up 7th,
Wow.
4392. So yeah, I think it was as good for him as it would have been for me. Uh, but yeah, that was gonna be it. But that was my first full season trying to play in Diamond with a max level deck. That season before was nuts. Like at the end of the day, there's a certain struggle playing in Champion, but gold players, they have a an absolutely competitive like pool of players to play in, and there's nobody there. So like your player liquidity is terrible. And so I think when I battled out of gold when I got everything to start playing in champion, it took me 5 days to get out of gold, going all the way from gold 3 to gold 1, and I was top 25 the whole time. Like in gold 3, I was top 25. Like that's like we were all just kind of snail up the up the leaderboard just trying to get rating before anybody was able to kind of go into diamond. It was nuts. And but then yeah, I told everybody I was like, as soon as I get out of gold, we're gonna fly through diamond. And sure enough, the liquidity was way better in diamond. And then yeah, champions probably about the same, honestly, because looking at this leaderboard, only that's actually a lot more than I thought. 57 people. 57 people were in C1. And so that's only 57 people that are going to carry over into champion for next season.
Hmm.
But
Yeah, it's tough. It's like that with silver too. I mean, I had that issue
silver?
a few seasons back. Yeah, where I had just hadn't been able to play too much, and I was actually accidentally finished the season in like gold 2 instead of gold 1, like I normally do, or like
Yeah.
normally like my rating by the end of the season is enough to be in diamond if I wanted to move up. But yeah, and then so then I was like, oh man, I haven't been in silver forever since they did that change that rule where you didn't have to drop down. And yeah, it took me, you know, basically the first half of the season just to grind. And I was like looking at it, I was like, I'm gonna have to get, you know, top 10 in silver just to get out of silver 1.
Yeah.
And but like, yeah, you just have to wait for it to kind of move up. And yeah, it's funny because like yeah, playing in gold still, I'll be like just playing. I'm like, oh yeah, I've got like 2800 now on my rating. Like, what's my stats on the leaderboard? And I'll look at it, be like, oh, like I'm 14th, you know, or something like that. It's like, yeah, you really
Yep.
do have to get up that high. But I feel like it's sort of like that too, where yeah, when I had that issue with silver, and then as soon as you get out, then you hit, gold 3, and then it's 10, 15 battles later, you're in gold 1 already. So I feel
Yeah.
like all the leagues are kind of like that, where once you start to get up to the top, it's it starts to get tough.
Yeah, the thing about champion, which is really unique, is that like you're constantly also being paired with diamond players. So I feel like the diamond leaderboard, like diamond gets more rating inflation than champion does because it's essentially leeching from champion. Because if anybody in diamond gets a win from champion, they get buku points, right? And so, looking at this gold, right? It's 2,800 to move on, right? So
Yep.
literally only 44 people in gold had enough rating to move into diamond, right? So like leaderboard gold players, there was only 44 of them really. And then if you look at diamond, diamond is supposed to be 37. 37 goes all the way to 58, 60. But if you look at the actual top, 4,200 rating points. So like 500 points above, was the leaderboard winner in diamond, right? Where gold couldn't get more than 200 above its. So yeah, the current the ranking system is so interesting, and it adds a level of frustration in this game that is very unique. And I'm starting to kind of I feel like experience it for the first time. So
Yeah, because if you look at the leaderboard on gold right now, the person who is number one is at 2771, right? So like they can't like they would have to you're first place in gold, and you'd have to really, really grind it probably to get out, right? Because
yeah.
everyone in gold you're going against, you're probably getting 5, even if you're on a win streak, which I'm obviously going to be, but like 5, 10
Mhm.
max rating points. So yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be tough. Yeah.
Yeah, and nobody in gold would get paired with anybody in diamond.
Right.
So they have nobody above them. They are only going to pay people below them.
Right.
Where, in diamond right now, that move from diamond to champion, I don't think is as daunting as any other league because you've got people above you to kind of play with. So like looking at the leaderboard in champion right now, there is currently 67 people in champion. So there's 67 people that you can get paired against that are going to give you good rating. And so, yeah, that's something I literally never thought about until
Mm.
about 3 weeks ago.
So is that when you made the move, you that up to diamond?
Yeah, yeah, I was kind of met I was met at a crossroads, which was and honestly it came out of nowhere. So good friend of mine, Lorcus, who has kind of been a mentor for me the whole time that I've been in this Splinterlands, and he was the one that recruited me into YGG SPL and originally like showed me such kindness in such a big way that like when I was back then the YGG badge you could only get it on Ethereum, and I had literally no funds in Ethereum, and the only way to like spend $10 in Ethereum is to park like $200 over there. So like so it's not a real like friendly blockchain to just get something on and to be poor on. Like it's not that kind of blockchain. So like literally that night I was like, man, yeah, I would love to. And he sent me $10 in Ethereum. And I was like, it was like $1 million to me. I was
Yeah.
like, this is one, it was like my first real introduction to the general ease of transferring wealth in blockchain or like transferring money. Like he literally just boop, not a PayPal, not like a anything. It was just here's $10. And then I was able to do the transaction that was necessary. And and that was such a big deal for me because I had no other way of doing that. And so from there, like I've was in YGG SPL and I was working with them and I was earning in the gap rewards and everything. And through that whole time, like my relationship with Lorcas was, tight. And so when we were in Vegas, like he literally, I was gonna go stay in a hostel because I didn't have any money for anything, and he's like, "Dude, I'm in the Luxor, just come stay with me." And so like spas, like dinners and everything. I'm like, the man has just spoiled me my whole time in Splinterlands. And so we recently he messaged me, and I was at a point where I had just got the last gap season rewards from YGG SPL, and I did the math, and I had enough money to go full Rebellion in gold. I had already had full Chaos in gold and full Rift Watchers in gold. So I was ready. It was finally Generation Chaos. I was going to be maxed out with my deck. I was going to play with my bags, and I was going to be the best gold player ever. That was what I was going to do. And he messaged me randomly and he's like, hey, I've been thinking. He's like, I got all these rebellion cards. And I'm like, oh, yeah. And he's like, yeah, what if we did kind of like the scholarship thing? And and I was like, I did a scholarship with Luthien once just to try it. Like I had access to her account and I played in Champion and had a reward share thing going and it was pretty cool. But because of the nature of it, I had to have like keys and I had to have access to her account. And so the only way I could do it is on my computer. And at that point in my life, committing to my computer was already like I didn't have that many hours. So I really felt like I was letting her down. I wasn't playing the account enough. I was super frustrated because like I'm trying to jam these games in a short time window and I don't know the meta. And so I was just mad. I was in a bad spot and I was like, this is not working. And so I explained that to Lorcas. I was like, look, Lorcas, I love the idea, but I have to have my account. My account has mobile access. My account I can play on the fly. That is the only way I play Splinterlands right now is I need that mobility because I don't know when, I'll be sitting on the toilet for 10 minutes and I can play a game. You know what I mean? Like that's my life. Like the toilet is Splinterlands time. So so I have no way to do that doing a traditional scholarship model. And with the relationship that we have and everything, he delegated me essentially an entire rebellion set, fully maxed out. And so what we said was we were like, okay, so this is the route that we're gonna go. So then to also match that commitment, what I said was I was like, okay, I'm gonna take all this money that I had for gold rebellion and it's going to now max out my Chaos and my Rift Watchers. So I own Chaos and Rift Watchers fully maxed, and then I'm borrowing or I'm being delegated from Lorcas the Rebellion. And so the course of the life of Rebellion, my plan is to build my collection, now that I've essentially jump-started funds, like the amount of SPS that you get in Champion is awesome. Not so much from ranked awards, because realistically, gold treats you very well. Gold and Champion SPS per wins, they're pretty close. They're really close. So feel really good, Hep.
Yeah, no,
But
I do. Don't worry.
But yeah, so then through the course of this whole time is I'll try to build, my own rebellion and then a little bit of a nest egg to hopefully, you know, the plan is still always to own all my own and be able to max out a deck on release. That's always still the plan. Um, but yeah, right now Lorcas is giving me that jump start, and so it's been it's been crazy. It's been absolutely crazy. Champion, I've been having to think about Champion a lot and max level playing in Splinterlands, and it's different. It's different than everything that I've learned up to this point because of the level of RNG. What I have found is just by the nature of the abilities that exist in Champion, more exclusively than others, right? There are more cards with blind. There are more cards with retaliate. There are more cards with backfire. There are just general RNG style abilities that you just pop into a lineup and then it just rolls the dice. But they're played strategically. So like speed and dodging and backfires, phase, these are all like real important aspects to champion that you can't not do, but they're not solid winning strategies because they can. So that's been a very interesting concept in champion. Retaliate's the big one. Like in gold and silver, I don't think retaliate's a thing.
There's some cards in gold that have
Like,
it.
Forgotten one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Forgotten one has it. What's the life card? Is it a dry bone?
The dry bone
The
raider, does he have it in
Soulbone
gold?
card?
Yeah, the soulbound one. He's got it. Like I like to play my so if you have like the Rift Watcher summoners, the epic summoners, so
Mhm.
like the Daemon Shark in water will get it. I'll play that with Vispa. He's got
Because
the
of
enrage and the
level
retaliate
9.
at that level 7, which you can play with those summoners, which is definitely fun. So, but yeah, so I'm trying to think if there's anything. I think I know I'm missing one. Maybe not. But yeah, those are the ones that have. Oh yeah, there's isn't
Does
there?
the
There's
neutral the neutral orc?
Yeah.
Does he have it?
Yeah, the one who's got like heavy shield, but it's like a back row defender. He's only got like 1 health or something, right?
The
But he's got
dry
a bunch of
bone
shield.
raider or the dry bone or Damaki orc.
Yeah.
Yes.
The Damaki orc.
The dumb cake.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the one.
But when does he when does he get that? Because I don't remember it in gold.
Oh no, so not him, not is that it? The orc? Yeah,
he does
gets it in
have
gold.
it.
Yeah, he's got
that's
it.
a
He doesn't
thing that
get
I've
thorns
learned
till
later.
the highest levels.
Yeah.
He gets
So like that's another thing. It's like all of a sudden, you got this guy smacking you, you got the demon shark smacking you, you've got just I think Pellicor mercenary was one that never had it. He's got it now. Just all these
Deceiver
abilities.
has it too, right? In champ, right? Because he's got
Who
the
does?
backfire and retaliate.
The Deceiver.
Which one?
Yeah.
Pellicor Deceiver.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, he's got it too. Yeah, so there's all these aspects that are just very RNG oriented and especially like when you start putting retaliate into blast matches, it's huge when you start to think about it from like a traditional trading card game or trying to assign advantage numbers to certain plays. Backfire and retaliate are absolutely huge because you get the +1 for missing and then you get another one for smacking them back. It's like it's nuts. It's a +2 in advantage essentially in those. And then that's where I had to get a sharp lesson in who is it? The Chaos Agent. I just no respect for the Chaos Agent until we got to Champion. And I'm just like, okay, this is the most important card in Champion now. Wonderful.
Really?
Great.
That's surprising to me. That because I use that card all the time in gold.
Never.
No?
I guess it was never more than a meat shield. It wasn't anything that was like if it got some evasions, that's like the backfire again, it just makes it like super, super different, and yeah, it's been crazy. And then there's also the other frustration, and for everybody I told everybody, it was like when we get there, Generation Chaos, we're gonna have all the cards, we're gonna do it. And I got up here and I was like, my soulbound cards aren't ready.
Yeah, I did want to ask you if that's been, a hindrance to you from playing in gold and moving
100%.
up. Yeah.
100%, especially the epics. The epics are like they get crazy abilities in the last few like levels that are nuts. They make them super meta. And yeah, I don't have knows? I remember my first couple days in Champion, I was facing off with level 3 Quoras, and I was like, this is this. I was like, I was having a real serious talk between me and the company in my head about immunity. I was like, I have a serious problem with
Preaching to
immunity
the
at this
choir,
point.
brother. Preaching to the choir.
Because that's all it was. It was like if I have an immunity card, and so like here I was catching on, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna play my GBS here, and like there we go, and they're like core, and I'm like, I was like, I don't have that one. But
Well, shoot, man. But before we go off into
sorry.
all this other good stuff we're talking about, I want to circle back to the rating stuff. So you've been around trading card games for ages. Um,
Hmm.
what is the fix there? I've heard stuff around the idea of rating decay. It's really frustrating to see those guys at the top of the leaderboard just kind of sit and park towards the end of the season. They're sitting well under 100 battles, but uh, they're playing in wild, assumedly, and just running the bot over in wild, and not earning anything additional to their modern ranking. But they're not going to give up any points because of that. What is the rating is obviously a big issue here. What do you think is the proper step forward?
Sadly, I don't really have a good solution for this. I think what we have here is pretty close to an ELO ranking system where, essentially if you're playing people your own rank, you get plus or minus, and it's equal across the board. You beat up on somebody that's way better than you get more points. If you lose to somebody that's way less than you lose more points. Um, I guess the argument would be is like is some of the people that are lower in Raider like really that like because there's times when all of a sudden I'm playing and I'll come across somebody that I know is a really good player. They're like 300 rating points behind me, and like I'll lose to them and just get smacked, and I'm like, no, that's BS. I got like a 50-50 rating with this guy, and I know he's a good player. It's not my fault he hasn't done anything in the last 7 days. Like, screw that. So there's a history to that, but I don't know how a computer would kind of figure that out. I've tried to think about it from like a rating inflation type of situation. Like, what if we just win away with win streaks? Like that bonus that you get from win streaks, if that was something that could help. But if we didn't have that, then we wouldn't actually ever be able to reset because we need those extra points because without it, there's no inflation. If there's no win streak records, everybody's plussing and minusing the exact same every battle. So the net points in the pool never change, which means end of the season we'd never be able to drop. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
So I don't know. There's aspects there. I think
Do we need like a
one of the
handicap system where it's like looks at like what is your rating when you finish the season? What is your average for the last X amount of seasons, and kind of give some weight to it that way? It could be like a golf or a bowling handicap, right? Like you might be like, oh well, this guy bowled a 200 last time, but normally bowls like a 280. But like no, that's why you have averages in those sports and handicaps. Like I don't know how you would necessarily work that in, but
but
that's a way to fix.
you only have handicaps in like casual play though, right? Like the professionals don't play with handicaps, right? Like everybody's once you go into being a scratch golfer or a professional golfer, like it doesn't matter like if you're Tiger Woods or if you're not Tiger Woods.
Yeah.
You know what
That's
I
a
mean?
good
Like
one.
you're on the pro tour.
Right.
So
Once you're
like
on that in that, yeah, right. Like
so
tournaments
so
don't
I
have
could
it. Yeah.
I could see an argument for that where but the way that this game is set up uh is there's four different games. There's four different leagues that are uniquely different from each other. So it's like you can't just say like the champion is the pro tour, right? The way Diamond and Champion is set up, I could make an argument there that like Diamond is, where maybe you do handicaps, and as soon as you transfer into Champion, then then you never drop out of champion and you're in this whole new rating system. And I could see something there. But like, yeah, in just diamond or like gold would be a hard one. I think that's maybe when you get into league locks at that point. If you commit to something early and you're like, I'm going to be a gold player, and this is my history of gold, and then maybe that's how it rates you over the season. I wouldn't mind that you have to play a certain amount of matches in a league every season, or you get dinged points. I could see something like that. But yeah, sadly, this when you're playing online, it's hard. It's hard to get everybody kind of ranked in the leaderboard, right? And yeah, I can't really fault anybody because when you look at the leaderboard right now, um, in champion, the dude that's on top, last time I looked, X Dragon, I believe he's normally right at the top. Yeah, XA Dragon. He's currently 300 points ahead of second place because he went on a tear. He's like 33 out of 37 and he's had a 12 win streak, right? So this man's probably gone like 12-1, 12-1, 12-1, right? Or something like that to get up to 33 and 37.
Wow.
And so the man's 300 points ahead of anybody else. So the game is currently not set up in a way that encourages him to play. Like if I was him, why play? There is
Yeah.
nobody close. You are only going to lose rating because he's in C1 and he's the only one there and he's 220 points before anybody else gets there. Right? So yeah, the man just got there early and the way that that's set up. So that's where yeah, that's where I would almost he shouldn't be discouraged from playing. If you get to champion, maybe it's not, maybe you still get the inflation for win streaks because I think those are important and especially in a very RNG heavy, like if you can slam win streaks together, that's pretty good. But he shouldn't be severely punished for continuing to play the game of Splinterlands right now.
Yeah. I mean, I guess is the argument though that, you kind of have to, look at it as, he's also, if he's not playing, he's missing out on SPS rewards. He's missing out on, daily chests to the extent.
Well, I mean, he can just go to wild.
Yeah, exactly. Well, but then you're missing out on SPS rewards, right? I mean, the amount of rewards you're getting in modern is so much higher than in wild. But yeah, I mean, if you're looking at like chests and stuff, then yeah, it's wild is just as good a place, if not better of a place to be, because there's so much more liquidity and easier to kind of get wins, especially if you're just running a bot. But yeah, I mean, I guess maybe just the SPS rewards then and being so much higher in modern. I'm not sure what it's like in champ. I know in gold at least the rewards, the battle rewards are significantly higher in modern than they are in wild.
Yeah, he's currently 49th on the wild leaderboard. He's 10 and 14 there. So, yeah.
Wait, I think it's an overall math equation, right? So I'm looking at his battle history and he's averaging 14, 15 SPS per win on his way to, he just hit champ 1. And to your point, Rogue, if he continues to play at this point in the season, being 300 points ahead of anybody else, he's subject to lose the better part of 100 rating points, and all of a sudden it's a much more level playing field. But yes, while he's given up the SPS rewards in champ 1, he owns that pool right now. He's also at this point he's secured himself what is it, 200k DEC.
Yeah,
there's no way he's going to be earning $200 in SPS between now and when the next couple of people on the leaderboard rank up high enough to be competitive there.
But if you look at like what the I mean, I'm just looking at from last season, the person who won champion, like that 4,300 rating last season,
4315 wouldn't have been the leaderboard.
Wouldn't have gotten you anything, right? So
well,
it's not like just sitting on that is gonna Yeah, you wouldn't have gotten any DEC rewards. So sitting on that rating is likely not going to get you anything at the end of the day. So
Yeah. But I mean, so essentially what we're saying then is, rating doesn't matter until the very end. And
until the last 3 days, yeah,
that's the conclusion that I came to
yeah,
last season, is that rating doesn't mean anything until the very end where leaderboard rewards are concerned. But rating does mean something in terms of our shares, right? So, when if he does get smacked a couple times while he's up there, like the man could still keep this win rate. But because he's already in C1, he might not move.
mm.
But if he falls down, 200 rating points, there's a big difference in the R shares at that point. And I think that was the more frustrating part for me, is I don't like those big swings, They don't, in terms of how I'm trying to measure my success and like how I'm doing, because like last season I went 203 out of 365. So I had a winning record. Um it's not that much above 50%, you know, but I don't think I did terrible. But there's many times in the season where I was like, man, I'm just a garbage player and I should probably quit.
I had one of those this morning actually. It was just like just like 6 losses in a row, man. I was just like, what am I even doing? Like,
Yeah,
put
those
this game
hurt.
away for a minute, you know.
Those hurt.
Rebounded at the rebounded a little bit in the afternoon as I tend to usually do. But yeah, it's just yeah, brutal.
Yeah. And yeah, that whole time I was only able to put 6 wins together. That was my streak last season, was
Yeah.
6. And you look at everybody else on the leaderboard, 17, 16, 14, 20, 19, 12, 12. Like there's that level, like there's almost that level of success too, being able to string these kind of wins together seems to be really important as well. But yeah, rating doesn't matter. I guess that's my answer, Jangles. Just don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Rating doesn't matter. Points are all made up, and we're just here to have fun.
Well, I feel like that's got to be something that Yaba's got earmarked for. As a new user, this stuff exists in bronze, in silver, like Hep alluded to, certainly exists in gold, and it really is a discouraging experience when, I just battled my way out of bronze on my alt account last season, and it was knocking on that door to silver that was the most frustrating part. You're towards the tippy top of the leaderboard, therefore you're giving up a whole bunch of rating points with every loss, and you're
Mhm.
back 5 battles when you were 1 win away from exiting
Exactly.
bronze. Uh, so
Exactly.
I do hope that Yaba's got something up his sleeve to address the rating issue, and rating decay would improve match liquidity, which would therefore hopefully limit the swings of big rating points. Um, yeah, I hope so. Hope so. But you guys were talking about the soulbound cards. This is something we mentioned off air that we wanted to kind of dive into. Uh, this last soulbound set is, I think every splinter has at least a couple of cards that are certainly must have. And there's been a lot of talk around Mav Chat. Shout out to Mondroid. I heard him mention, or I saw him mention specifically that, and he's a great player. Definitely respect his opinion. He called out specifically that there's a lot of the soulbound cards that are in any particular circumstance are going to trump most of Rebellion, uh, which is a problem, right? We've set it up in a way where the more overpowered cards you can't buy in a pack. Why is somebody going to go to the store and buy packs when they can, earn the most meta cards? Certainly that's not to say that Rebellion doesn't have its share of a few meta cards, but the majority of the meta cards that you see, Virus called out a very poignant question last week and said, "How many matches do you guys play with soulbound cards?" And the easy answer is well in excess of 90%. Uh, so moving forward, I think we've got to chalk up the last or the current soulbound batch as being a learning experience, both from uh, shifting away from these cards being available immediately on the free market, number one, and number two, the degree of impact that these cards hold on the meta and their ability to overshadow and ultimately discourage pack sales. Uh, do you guys feel is there a lot of weight in that argument that this current soulbound batch is too overpowered and therefore potentially discouraging pack sales from Rebellion?
Yeah, I mean, is it discouraging pack sales from Rebellion? I don't know. I mean, is the better question is why aren't some of these Rebellion cards stronger? And why were these soulbound cards made this strong to begin with? I mean, I think it was kind of a time when people needed something. We needed something new in the game, and we got some new abilities in these cards, especially Martyr. I mean, Martyrdom was just pretty big, and we started to get weapons training, which there was a lot of weapons training in those cards, and then it wasn't used that much until they kind of redid the weapons training thing to make it better, and so it's a lot stronger now, right? So yeah, I I go back to the conversation we had with Azerkron before it came out, and he said that they've got to make these cards very overpowered. You got to make people want to buy these cards. I'm not. I mean, like you said, I think there are some, but I'm not sure overall as a set that's the case. I mean, Rogue, you're saying you've got maxed out. You've got a full set of maxed out Rebellion cards. I only have a few. Rebellion cards that are at gold level, and I'm still doing okay. I got the few cards I felt like I needed so far, and maybe I could be doing better if I had more. But since you've kind of got a full set of both, I mean, love to hear how often are you playing Rebellion cards versus Soulbound Rewards cards versus Chaos Legion cards? I mean, are the decks you're putting together, are they mostly Chaos Legion? Are they mostly Rebellion? Kind of what are you seeing from that angle?
Yeah, so I would say I use a pretty even mix at the end of the day, as even as the distribution is. Because like we have to be reminded that Chaos Legion is flipping huge. Absolutely huge. So like the main set and Rift Watchers, 3 reward sets, including this last one that we're talking about, which was a full set in its own. Like we're talking 12 legendaries, we're talking 5, 6 summoners, like
yeah.
this is huge. So I understand the argument that, it could be affecting sales because you can go get these, but like at the end of the day, they're really hard to get. I still don't have them at the level that I need to play in Champion. I had just started to get everything to gold level that I needed, but was still behind in epics, playing in gold the whole time. And I've been active for what, over a year? These things have been out, so I don't have them yet. So like that argument that like I'm not gonna go buy because I have or can get, I don't like. Not buying because I have, that's the thing that I foresee that we're gonna struggle with for Generation Chaos. I believe what we have is there's like in Generation Chaos, you've got me, Virus, Mondroid. These players that are now invested in Splinterlands. This is Splinterlands. We are here and we're gonna be in this. We're gonna be the OGs that can talk in the next 5 years about like when everything was pennies and blah blah blah, right? It'll be fun. I think you still have a majority of the chaos generation that is just riding chaos. And I don't know if once chaos rotates, I don't know if they'll still be here. They might be like Matt Clark, who is going to land. Like after rotation, he's just going to be land, you know? He's already made all the investments. He's been on the older cards and everything, and he's not really jumping in to these newer sets. There are people that get turned off to the idea, and I try to preach this every flipping time. When you get into trading card games, new sets come out. It's not a one-time buy. It's not a one-time buy, and you're just golden for the rest of your life. You can just play Chaos Legion for 25 years. It's not an LCG. It's TCG, and TCGs come out with new sets very regularly, and you need to buy the sets in order to stay competitive and for the game to evolve. So my main thing is not that, these cards were so OP and that you can get them for free. Because at the end of the day, when I'm looking at these, I don't play all of these all the times. There are meta cards in here. 100% there are meta cards in here. But this whole set is not full of gems, you know. So, for me, you still need all the new stuff. So like I still needed Rebellion. It was still a part of my plan, and it was still going to be essential to my victories, because you never know essentially that card that you're going to need in the rule sets that you need. My opinion has always been equip yourself with as many weapons as possible so that when you go into the battle, like you've got everything there. Like you never know when you're going to need some. It might be a niche tool, but that's generally where the game is trying to go. You can tell with some of these abilities and the cards that they're creating, like that you don't just slam Kitty all the time. You have to like start to think about play lines a little bit more. And so yeah, I don't think it's deteriorating sales. I just think there are people that just aren't going to buy after Chaos. There are people that aren't actual trading card game players. There are people that have found this and have just kind of been rocking Chaos and going this route. Now we'll see what happens when these things become unlocked to buy, because that'll be, I think, the true, when somebody says, like, why would I buy something when I can just earn it for free? There's going to be the next generation that can't earn these. And they will have to go to the secondary market and they will have to buy. What is the price of those going to be at that point? I remember Axemaster. I remember O'Shaughnessy, I remember early O'Shaughnessy. Like these were all very meta free cards that you got. What's your favorite one? I don't remember. It's a faceless dude. Can't hit it. Yeah, that guy. So like there's always been broken free cards. Were you around to get it? And when the next guy comes around, like, are they going to be able to get it? Because if anybody clocks in today and tries to go play in Champion, they're not going to be able to get these cards. I don't know what a new player today buying maxed out Chaos and Rebellion Ghost tries and plays into Champion without any of these, and like no quick way to get them all leveled up. I don't know how successful they would be. So that's another, like, luckily bronze and silver, you don't have to really deal with that too much. You pull one copy and you're doing all right. But yeah.
Still, yeah. I mean, bronze and silver is a lot of so Gladius cards too. I mean, because you can get those summoners. That's one other thing that's like, in bronze it's not as big of a deal, but in silver, like I said, when I dropped down to silver, I had to learn that quick, and luckily I been in the guild for a while, and I have a lot of Gladius cards that were, I'm just starting to get some of them into the kind of gold level. Like most of them are still around silver. I actually pulled a gold foil Cora the other day, which was pretty awesome. Yeah, it was pretty nice. I haven't been doing too many gold foil brawls recently though, so but yeah, but like yeah, that's the sort of thing where you're kind of behind there, because if you try to get in, and even if you only need a little bit, but then you're behind everybody else because everybody's throwing Gobson, Katrina Gobson at you all the time, or hitting you with core and stuff.
Yeah, I was not a fan. Yeah. I was not a fan of them putting Gladius cards into
Ranked.
in with a summoner.
Yeah.
I don't
So
mind it being in the rule set. I think the rule set's fun because it pops up randomly. It's not really so much, but attaching it to a summoner, I didn't like that idea.
yeah. Is there an argument to be made to just kind of do away with rewards cards or make it, the set sorry, the set's really small, maybe just like a couple neutral cards or something like
Yeah.
that? What do you think?
Personally, I would I mean we already had it, right? Like if you go back to the reward card set that we started with, right? We had 5 commons, right? You had the Pellicors, and then you had the muskrats were in the rare slots, and then you had 3 epics, 3 legendaries, right? And then they tried to duplicate that again with the Jared Scar and the Volgine and all that. But then the print run on that one wasn't, it was like a quarter of what the last one was. I mean, if you take this whole set and you split it up into 4 and you let it run for 3 months with the distribution that it is, but like shrunk, and then every 3 months like it becomes available on the market and then the new ones are able to earn. Like if we get into that rhythm, I'm totally fine with reward cards. They're going to be amazing. Because I think if we shrink the amount of legendaries and we shrink the amount of quantities, then when you're pulling like in your 10 champion chests, like you'll be able to get leveled up in a timely fashion, right? But then with a 3 month print rate, then you actually start to get to like a certain level of scarcity and demand that I think would be really good. And then you're always shaking it up. Every 3 months you've got a new set rolling out. And yeah, it could be, I think it could just be that small. And as long as the cards, like when you unlock the cards, as long as we're talking about burning vouchers and burning DEC to unlock them, like I think I don't think they can be farmed at that point. If there is a cost to unlocking it, I don't think they can be farmed. That's like one of my big arguments. Everyone's concerned about these bot farms that have been farming these for these long. It's like if it costs 10 DEC to unlock it, it's going to be twice as expensive as the chaos reward cards were. So like, is that a bad thing? Like, oh, people are only going to buy them if they want them, right? So you get into supply and demand stuff, and they're not going to be cheaper than Chaos Legion. So Chaos Legion is still going to be the floor at that point because it was all free. There was no cost.
Mhm.
So yeah, I would say shrink it, and put it on a legitimate like, and just communicate like these are going to be out for 3 months. Go, you know.
You guys think we'll be getting an announcement around this current run having its sunset here in the upcoming town hall? You feel like it's too soon?
Too soon.
Too soon.
It's not too soon. Like I want it. Like I want it now. At the end of the day, I think we've gone long enough with these, and I think we need to move on to that next step. I don't think they have the infrastructure ready. They spent a lot of time on land. They spent a lot of time getting rebellion out. Um, I don't think they have anything ready to unlock or to manage uh NFTs and non-NFTs like soulbounds and like I don't think any of that's been hashed out. So I'm not anticipating that at all. I will be pleasantly surprised.
I mean, it'd be nice to get an announcement and some type of plan, but yeah, I agree with you that we're probably not going to see a timetable I mean, we don't have the war wagons
Yep.
released yet, so
Yep.
and that was kind of a thing was like, oh, we could have these, but we want to give everybody a break for the holidays and we don't want to, kind of try to rush it out. But that was, that's been over for 2 weeks now. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
And
I mean, we'll see.
I think the other thing there is I'm hoping, in my opinion, I'm hoping they don't chop it. I'm hoping it's not, here is the soulbounds that you can unlock for land, but you can't unlock to sell. In my opinion, that's multiple, that's work. That's work that the dev team has to do to code twice or to put some gates in place that like this means this and this means this. I think if they want, I think they need to move forward with unlocking soulbounds, but it needs to just be for trade, for sale, for land. Just this is what unlocking a soulbound looks like, all encompassing. Do it.
But I don't think we're going to get that, right? Because they've already said, like, we've set the price on what it's going to be to unlock for land, but we want to make it more to unlock if you want to sell it, right? So they've kind of already committed themselves to doing that.
No, our company just loves to just change their mind occasionally. And remember, all of those statements were under Aggie's reign.
Okay.
No statements on Soulbound unlocking has happened after the second cut. So at the end of the day, like, and that's what I mean. Logically thinking about this, I cannot see a world where it is less work to do this twice. I cannot see a world. So I'm praying, I'm praying that they just do it once and set the floor. I don't even think the unlocking aspect needs to even be that complicated. Like 2 times CP is excessive. I think even just doing it as CP is fine, as long as because if they do it at CP, then there's no way that we could burn cards for DEC inflation. And so maybe that's where, because I think they said 2 times the CP, but you can pay half of it with vouchers. Okay, so if they went with that model, that makes sense because then there's no way that they're going to burn a card to mint DEC. And so there's not going to be any DEC inflation from the Soulbound reward card printing. And I think if that's our floor, then we're only up from there. We're only up. And if you do anything more than the CP, then we risk like in the next bull run, everything's way too expensive. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, we saw those unlock proposals as high as 4x CP. Well, that's just
Why?
it's tough
Like,
that's a tough pill to swallow. Like it
well, I
kind
mean,
of
because
defeats
think
the
about
purpose
it.
of the soul of the reward cards.
Like, what's your like right now? A common. What? A common's 5 CP. So if you burn 5 DEC, what is that? That's half a penny. That's a half a penny in cost to mint. And then what are the current reward cards selling for? Like 0.7 of a penny or something? That's like the floor on the current reward cards.
The ones that are for sale?
Yeah, so like if you look at like the heat smiths and
Bernard
such.
Smith, yeah.
Yeah.
So like they're currently at a penny and like the 0.8, right? So then if we look at let's go to splinter cards here. Splinter cards. Let's look at the distribution because I don't think we've printed near as many of these as we've printed of
I think
as
it's
we've
close,
printed.
man.
No
You mean the
way.
soulbounds?
Are we there?
The soulbounds
Yeah.
versus like the Venaris?
No
I can't
way.
believe it's that close. I mean, just because there were so many more bots in the ecosystem back
Yeah,
then.
look at that. No,
like
we're
there had to
only
be so
at
much
we're only
more.
at 3.5 million. Each of these commons is at 3.5 million right now. And those went all the way up to 8. So we're at half the supply currently. So I mean, this is where if they let this go, for a whole nother year, like they were talking about, like 2 years, then yeah, they did print a metric. So like overall, there is many BCXs of comments. So like in this, it was 1, 2, what, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 12 commons in this set versus 5 in the other one, right? 6. 2, 4, 6. Yeah, there was only 6. So there's half of the cards. So like total BCX, yeah, there's comparable amount of BCX, but because the unique card is twice as much, the actual distribution for the card is a lot less. So comparing, let's say our where are you at? Let's go look at our Venari Wavesmith is at 1.8 million. So, and looking at the soulbounds, we're at 800,000. So less than half on those. So yeah, in my mind, I don't, even if the prices are comparable to the other reward cards, like let's let them go. Let's see where they settle. And let's move on to the next one because the end of the day, there are many cards in the Chaos set. And right now there's only one set in Rebellion. And I would like to get into a rhythm where it's only maybe three sets in a block. So like maybe the main set, mini set, and the reward set. And like it's just that clean. Every set is that size because that's what Magic does well. That's what Pokemon does well. That's what these card games that have a rotation, they keep the rotation the same. So there's a certain amount of cards that leave, certain amount of cards that come in, and it's repeatable, because we're gonna hurt when chaos rotates. It's gonna be nuts. That is gonna be a lot of cards that aren't gonna have a lot of value.
Yeah. Yeah, you called that out earlier as far as the um relative percentage of Chaos Legion versus Rebellion, and Chaos Legion being Chaos Legion core set, Rift Watchers, the three different reward cards releases versus obviously we just have Rebellion plus the promos at this point, and it's Chaos Legion comprises, it's got to be close to 75%, 80% of the cards in Modern right now.
230 cards in the Chaos Legion set.
And there's
compared
what,
to
85?
148 in Untamed. Beta had 146. So like that's what I mean. They were on something there, right? They were on something. 146, 148, 230 in Chaos, and then came back with currently 87 in Rebellion. So that's where it's like, yeah, looking at it realistically in the entire meta pool, or I'm sorry, the entire modern pool, Rebellion's only 25% of the pool. So yeah, if you're playing, I wouldn't expect you to be like running rampant with 25% of your deck.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, maybe that changes with what the new rewards cards look like and what some of the airdrop cards look like. Guess we'll just have to see.
Yeah, because Chaos Legion was 103. We printed 8 promos, 33 reward cards, and then 43 soulbounds. So there you go. There's a whole set in rewards.
Man, 33. I had forgotten that I had like almost forgotten that those two non-soulbound reward sets were like different sets. I just like it feels like so long ago.
Yeah,
kind of had like blocked that out.
Yeah, when they made those both chaos, I was like, ooh, that's not. I'm kind of compulsive. And so like in my mind, the scales were going like this, and I'm like, I don't like it. I don't like it. But yeah, Rift Watchers was 43 cards. So and then yeah, if you look at Untamed was 84, 3 promos, 36 rewards, and then 25 in dice. So like, the main set was 50% of like 84 of the 148 was the main set. You go to Chaos Legion and it's not that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, thinking back, I came in too late, but I believe if memory serves, all of the Chaos Legion reward cards, so the first batch of reward cards, they were released before the core set came out, right?
Yep. That was peak O'Shaughnesss madness.
And the Wavesmith days with
that blue meta was your Ulrich. Yeah, back when he was, But yeah, that card got silly. And that's another thing that I do appreciate about these soulbound reward cards is they shouldn't come out silly. At the end of the day, I don't think they're going to be that crazy. But when we look at it, I think one of these other things I want to look at here is I want to look at the gold foils because I don't know about you guys, but when I pull a gold foil legendary, I automatically assign like $50 to it. I'm like, because I feel like the floor price for gold foil legendaries has been set by land.
Oh yeah.
And so like when I look at these, I'm like, when we get to that point of unlocking, I'm really curious what these gold foils are going to run, because I don't think the best players have been able to max out gold foils of their reward card sets. So I don't know what that's going to look like. But yeah, it's interesting.
Hmm.
It's interesting.
Yeah. Hopefully we get some resolution around all this stuff sooner than later. I did just see Dave McCoy, shout out to Dave, posted another uh I guess pre-proposal, kind of litmus testing the waters for a potential soulbound unlock solution. But yeah, the clock is ticking. We've got to get into rebellion reward cards sooner than later.
Mhm. Is
Just
that
for the
even
sake
on
of
us?
Well, that's what
Do
I,
we
I
even?
wanted to ask you. Like, what do you think? Do you feel like the DAO should be making this choice, or I feel like this should be
No.
the game should be leading with this, right? And I really want to see them, like you said, we need to like get in a rhythm, and so people kind of know once we get into it, here's how long it's going to last, and this is the way it's
Yeah.
going to work. Everything's just a little too open ended right now.
Yeah.
well, I mean, and to our earlier conversation, XA Dragon losing out on chess, not playing in, maybe the R shares is not as great in wild. Uh, sacrificing the bigger R shares playing in wild while he's parked at the top of the leaderboard. If we have that sense of scarcity going into a new reward set, and we've only got 3 months to accumulate as many cards as possible, that
Hmm.
could, in an indirect, roundabout way, encourage uh, additional playtime.
I think
Um,
it would.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, there was certainly a race when this last Soulbound set, or I guess this current Soulbound set dropped. Uh,
Hmm.
before I think it ran for probably 3 months before they adjusted the drop rates, and people were just
Yeah.
hitting big fat paydays with, I think I had Soriel the Bale maxed out in gold foil
Oh, wow.
uh before they adjusted it. And since then, yeah, it's been a struggle. Um but yeah, man, it's an interesting time. I would love to see some decisions handed down. And yeah, to your question, Hep, I don't think that it's really, maybe the DAO can provide uh community sentiment suggestion, but ultimately it should be Yaba and Co, you know banging the gavel and saying this is what we're going to do, and this is the path forward. um so something else that we talked about with Breaking Benjamin, and I think we may have touched on it with Virus last week, is something that I'm it really excites me around locking abilities to particular sets. Force Field is a great example. And, Artemis the Bear, I run into him more than I ever did before. And he's always been a very meta card, especially at the higher levels.
Hmm.
Um, but Force Field is a great one. The Slip Spawn is a great example of Force Field just completely stymieing the opponent's um, game
Yeah, if you
plan.
get too greedy.
Yeah, yeah. And Martyr being locked to this last Soulbound reward set. What's your take on that, Rogue? Do you feel like we should be locking abilities to sets and therefore, increasing the demand to go out and purchase these cards? Do you feel like we should see a little bit of a resurgence of these abilities with unique cards down the stretch? What's your thought process there?
I think there's certain abilities that I think should stay pretty unique. I think Marty is definitely one of those. I don't think it should I don't think it should spread much more than it already is. It's a very powerful ability. Um, but I think it would just take I don't want to tie the hands of the companies too much because I don't really know how strong the company is in game design. At the end of the day, like that's where, you have to be, I have to be honest about, the company that I'm supporting and that I'm, buying into is, they have strengths in blockchain for sure. I love their concepts of economics and, what they're doing there. But in terms of gameplay, they haven't done anything creative in a long time, right? We just now got tactics, which is adding kind of a level, but then everything else has really just been, abilities. So I don't want to tie their hands, from having to, every set come up with something new ability wise, I think they can spread them out, and make them, a little bit more unique, but I'm not completely set on like this set has to be the ones that had all the bloodlust and this set has to be the ones because like the way bloodlust is kind of sprinkled out into regular cards, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Um, and then who says what are like the core Splinterlands abilities, like the shields, the voids, and void shield and all that. Then what are the more unique ones? So I mean, because I would almost kind of appreciate if weapons training would be something that like they've introduced, but now I would like to see it maybe on like one card, two cards every set, maybe just like thin it out. It doesn't have to be a rampant ability like it is right now. Um, so that would be my sentiment there because I think there's other areas that I would like for them to focus on instead of creating new abilities. I want them to actually dig into the computer and the UI aspect to build these other gameplays that we've talked about. So that's where I would be there.
Does it make sense then to say, maybe like take Martyrdom, for example? All right, we're not going to see that in any other cards until this reward card set rotates out of Modern. And then the next reward card set or however we're doing reward cards,
Yeah.
then, we'll have a set then, like, or at least for Modern, at least. I mean, I know this kind of like hurts maybe the value of cards if you want to have them more for Wild, but then, does it kind of make more sense that way to say, all right, Rebellion's the only set that's going to have flank and lookout until that rotates out of Modern, and then we'll look at how we're going to add that back in with later sets. And maybe it's not the set right away. Maybe we don't see it for in Modern for a whole set, and then
Hmm.
it comes back.
I can agree with that. I don't mind that, and I want to say they actually did it. Yeah, they did. There's only in Rebellion. Maybe it wasn't Rebellion. I think it was Flying. There was Call Me Tim. I think it's the one that was the one that kind of designed the set, right? When I was doing that launch party, he had mentioned something like there was only a handful of cards that had like a really essential ability, and I didn't remember if it was immunity or flying. Let me find flying. I think there's only five or like three cards that have flying.
Hmm.
There we go. Let's go take a look. So yeah, looking at this, there's only the one,
7,
two, is it?
4, 3 of them are on death.
Yeah, but say there's a bunch of
Then
death cards with flying, but so I feel like there's a bunch, but maybe that's just because of
it's your affinity for death.
for death. Yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I mean, when you look at it in dragons, there was only the one dragon that has flying.
Yeah.
In neutrals, there's only the one. In dragon, yeah, there's three. But yeah, and then in immunity, there was only five. I think five cards with immunity.
That's
That
still a lot
was,
given how
I guess, the way that it
unfair.
used to be. Yeah,
Well,
one,
because
two,
before that,
three, four,
how many
five,
cards in Chaos
six.
Legion had immunity?
Chaos Legion had 1, 2, 3,
Adelaide, Forgotten One,
4.
Harklaw.
Untamed actually
Oh,
had more immunity. 5, 6, 7,
Yeah.
8. There was 8 in Chaos and about the
There's 8 in
same in
Chaos.
Untamed.
Because there's 8 in Chaos Legion with immunity?
Yeah. Yeah, Forgotten One, Vampiric Blossom, a
Okay.
Evelyn Avura, the neutral or the white no attacker
non-attacker.
from the
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, yeah, I guess I was just thinking of, like, the core set. I could only think of those two.
See, nah, Chaos is huge.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Were there any abilities in, like, Untamed that haven't shown back up in, say, Rebellion?
Um,
I can't think of any, right?
no, because they didn't really have
That
anything
many,
crazy
yeah.
back then.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've only added abilities
Yeah.
since then.
Yeah, they haven't ever taken any away.
Self-heal? Is there any rebellion cards with self-heal?
That's a good question.
There is the green one. I know I use him pretty
Oh, right.
regularly.
And
Right.
the yak. The
The
yak has
summoner,
self-heal
yeah, the
also.
yak. But yeah, realistically, there's only 3, and there's only 3 in the summoner. So yeah, the
Sea
Sea Dog of
Dog.
8, the Creori, and the Sky Spire yak.
Hmm.
Wow, that's pretty small.
Has
And
anybody
yeah,
ever played the Kiori? Have you ever played that at all?
yes, I actually really like. Here, hold on, let me go back. Let me go back. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I like him. Um, I will sometimes run like an Immortalis team and just I like running the promo reach blast the big dude
Manaroth?
Mantaroth.
Okay.
Ah,
So I like running Mantaroth in that position too. Plus in green you have the slip spawn as a natural taunt. So you can kind of keep some pressure off the Creori for a minute. Also if you're if you're feeling peachy, you can I've done it where, I'll put him, then GBS, and then I'll run something behind it to either give it the magic or the range, depending on the rule set. So that way my Grimbardoon Smith has 2 attacks when it drops into position 1. So
Mm.
it has that melee attack and it has the melee attack and the range attack.
Yeah,
Or
I'm
sorry,
always
and the
kind of
magic attack.
yeah. I'm
So
always kind of doing that Manaroth play with the in life though, with the Blade
oh
Fighter
yeah.
and then the
Right?
Izatar and with the taunt and behind the Manaroth.
Yep.
So and then
Yep.
get all the resurrects and then
That's a good
go to
play.
town. Yeah.
It's a really good play. And then when it loses to like anytime you're staring at the bear, like the bear is pretty annoying because then you've put all these marties into your Mantaroth and now he's just getting force field. You're just like
Yeah. Yeah, when you have like a 7 shield attack coming in and just doing 1 damage, it's
But
frustrating.
what's really crazy in Champion is what I'm finding is like that Marty focus with Izar, like most people like Yasik is huge and Chaos Dragon is huge. So
Mm.
there's oftentimes, and this is one of the things that's absolutely driving me nuts in Champion, is this was a huge no-no back in the day, and I don't understand why it's not anymore. But in a health equalizer match, Scattershot's still flipping good. And I'm like, that was always a no-no. It's
it
like if
doesn't make
everybody has
sense.
the
It
same
doesn't
health,
make sense.
why are you
Yeah.
doing this? But Chaos Dragon whoops my tail and Chaos Dragon adds so much health. Chaos Dragon just buffs everybody up and then doesn't know where he's attacking, but it's still deadly enough to work. I don't get it. Champion's weird. So anyway, so with all these scatters and everything like that Izar strategy, I'm finding sometimes I'll set it up right and they're ignoring it.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is great, thanks.
Oh man.
But yeah, I do love flank. Flank is
It's
my favorite ability from like the new cards, being able to kind of Possibilis in whatever way I want to.
yeah.
That feels really good. You
It
know.
is a lot. I think it's kind of, yeah, of all the new abilities, and like you said, yeah, it just gives something reach, right? But it just does kind of feel like the most fun where, a Kane like trying to like, sneak something in, get Jared Scar bloodlust going early or something like that, get that thing rolling. Yeah, some of that stuff is kind of just feels
it is.
more fun, you know what I mean? Feels more fun than a normal just new ability.
Yep. It's really fun in white because Jared Scar is always one of those that you're trying to, and now that you don't have to do it in just like an opportunity or melee attacks from everywhere,
Mhm.
if you can kind of squeeze them into some of these other rule sets, yeah, Jared Scar feels pretty good.
Yeah, flank. I completely agree. Flank is such a fun new ability. Pacifilus has always been fun because you get to take advantage of those big heavy hitters and maybe toss the Coral Lurker in position 2 or
Yeah.
the Demon Shark with Artemis is just a boss at the number 1 spot. But flank is one of those abilities I'm really hoping we get to see come with one of the legendary summoners.
Well, that's Possibilis though. Possibilis is flank.
Well, yeah, but it's specific to blue, right? If we could get flank from maybe
Dragon.
maybe dragon.
Just so you
I
can
mean,
put it in
dragon
the
would immediately step on the toes of Possibilis, whereas flank with one of the other colors, it would more directly compete with Possibilis versus trump
but
Possibilis.
but like in terms of like a new player experience, would you put flank on a summoner if it did the exact same thing as reach? Like would that confuse people? Like if it's just reach,
Yeah.
if you put it on a summoner?
Yeah, I guess so.
I'm sorry. You said that last week. I was,
And it's been bothering you all
I
week.
was, I was like, Jangles, it's reach, brother. It's just reach.
I guess it is, huh? What about so weapons training has obviously been the big focus for Rebellion. Do you suspect we'll see a weapons training?
Well, so sorry. It would be
No,
different
go
than
ahead.
reach. It would be different than reach, right? Because you would have to assign it. Wouldn't you have to assign it to if it's like one of the ones where you choose, if it's a
Well,
tactics
it's
one,
like 6 in one, half dozen in the other. I get
you would
what
have to,
you're
well, you'd have
saying.
to assign it so everybody wouldn't get it, right? You would just be giving it to one.
Well, that's super big brain then. Yeah, so
You know
you're
what I
like
mean?
trying to put reach in like position 3
Yeah,
or
like where
something.
you have to
You're like,
assign
yeah,
where you'd want to put it, right?
like
So
late game we're gonna do it.
sorry,
All
I
right.
didn't mean that.
There
I
you
shouldn't
go.
have
Well,
interrupted
no,
that,
because
but it is different.
flank only applies to to the first. Like it's when the game starts. Flank has to be applied to the first position monster, right?
But if
Well, I
you
guess
applied it to the second, you could apply
I've
it to
never
choose to apply
played
it
a
to the
flank
second.
outside of position 1, so
Right. Yeah, maybe we're coming up
Right.
with a new strategy
let's
on the
do
fly
it.
here. Yeah.
Somebody send me a challenge.
Well,
Let's
I think the
Figure this
text
out.
on the ability itself says that if the let's pull it up and
I think it's
give
if
it
it's in
a
the first
give it a gander
position, the monster behind it gets reach.
If the
at the
yeah,
start of the
literally.
match
If the
at
unit
the
with this
beginning of the
ability is in the
battle.
first position,
Yeah,
So if
wow,
it's not in the first position at the beginning of the battle, the guy
it
behind it
does
doesn't
there's
get it.
nothing.
there's no flank. Yeah,
Because like lookout reassigns every turn, right? That's where there's kind of that lag too,
Yeah.
with like the lookout, it'll
yeah.
reassign. One to the
Flank does not.
interesting.
I feel like flank should always just give
Yeah, right.
reach to
Whoever's
you know,
behind it,
yeah.
or whoever's
Weird
in front
nuance there.
Well, whoever in
Um,
front, that'd be crazy.
of it.
Adjacent, yeah, that would be fun. Yeah. So back to the weapons training thing. Do you think we'll see a weapons training ability from a legendary summoner? That feels like that could be a little bit too much, but Matt has stated, we've heard him come out and say a couple of times that he wants these legendary summoners to be very akin to the untamed legendary summoners in terms of their overall power. Weapons
That
training
would
feels
be
like a
yeah.
path to that.
Oof.
That would be a very unique and honestly, I don't mind it. The way that they've kind of capped it at 3, I could see that. I don't know if there's a world where you're not just weapons training all magic at that point. because like the magic ones are really like they're the good ones, right? They're the ones that get played the most. The Kulu Mastermind is just amazing by himself, so him accidentally weapons training people too is cool too. But realistically, looking at weapons training, blue, black, and white all have that magic, that 3 magic, which is I think the critical number. Um, so yeah, I almost wonder if just doing that, you'd just be forcing magic into some colors and on more powerful creatures that maybe don't have that would be good. It would be really good. Because yeah, you would be able to essentially assign weapons training to something that really doesn't have the weaknesses that you would code into something that you naturally give weapons training.
Yeah.
So fancy. Yeah, we've got Darg. He's a good one from the Rebellion set, and then the Soulbounds. You've got the Skok and the Avis.
Imagine if you could toss weapons training on something like the
Chaos Dragon.
Runemancer Flore, and all of a sudden you're giving both adjacent monsters magic and ranged.
Wow.
I didn't even think of that. Yeah, congratulations. You got that banned. Yeah, we could have just slipped that one right under the radar.
Well, I mean,
Oh, yeah.
in order to make thinking along the lines of making this new batch of legendary summoners as OP as Untamed, it would have to be something that extreme, right? And I would assume that sort of ability would be reserved for the dragon summoner.
I mean, yes, but I mean we've also I don't know, they've dipped their toes into like 2 things right now with Rebellion, right? Where they were like tactics and they said dual color summoners, right? So that's where in my mind the legendaries are already kind of like they're already mapped out to do the thing, right? We have the dual color, we have tactics, we haven't combined them. What happens if we combine them? Like playing 2 colors and having a summoner ability, I think might be pretty crazy. Because realistically, I don't know. I'm only experimenting with the dual colors in low mana and in Silent Summoner, and they're pretty fun to combine, honestly. When I'm like not tied to losing a summoner ability, and I'm just like, yeah, whatever. I love combining these colors. They're great. Um, so maybe if they were offset with an ability to kind of compete with some of these other ones, I'd be more inclined to start combining.
Well, they would have to be what, 8 mana, right? Is duals is
You would
dual
think so,
elements
right?
plus a tactic? Is that
Yeah.
does that
Yeah.
justify 8 mana? I mean, that's a massive
Well, I don't know.
cost going to
7 mana.
summoners.
7 mana was 3 abilities on a summoner. So maybe if you take away 2 abilities and add a color, maybe you can stay 7.
And a tactic though.
I don't know. I mean, realistically, the tactics, we're choosing more times than not the 3 abilities in Chaos Legion over any of our tactics. So like that's currently the meta. So like I guess I'm not so fearful of that. There hasn't really been many times where like you're running like by design, the tactic summoners were supposed to have that like I'm gonna play this and I'm gonna look at my team and I'm gonna make a decision. I would say more times than not, your decision's already made before you're going. You're playing that tactic summoner with a purpose. So like for me, I'm looking at Rosa when we're in range only stuff. And I'm putting a shield on Wave Brute. I'm looking at Avena or looking at the white summoner when we're in low mana and the math suggests that nobody could get past a GBS that's healing itself.
Yeah.
Like these are just like the go-to plays with some of these tactic summoners. And then there hasn't really been a time. I'm trying to experiment with death where I'm like, yes, I want reflection shields. Because I feel like there's times I want reflection shields. I did it once successfully, because I knew it was going to be a mirror and it was going to be like a cursed Wendeku mirror. And I was like, Reflection Shield would probably break that mirror. And it did. So that was good. But there's very few times where I'm going into this and I'm like, the 2 health or, I'd never use the green one yet. That sadly, the boss. I can't imagine a world where I'm like, do I want the melee or am I gonna poison something? Um, but
Yeah, just looking at that ability, being able to like poison someone right off the bat, like kind of thought like, oh, that'll be cool. That would be useful. But then
it's
you're like,
not.
yeah, then in practice, it's just like doesn't actually work. I mean, I've had matches where people have used it and like tried to poison my blight, right? Which you would think is like that's probably the right move.
That
Like try to
is,
get that thing out there. It just doesn't work. It just doesn't work.
yeah, in my opinion, there's a fault or a bug in the game right now that I'm not a huge fan of because it's an inconsistency in the game rules. Currently, if you give a monster poison and he lands it in an attack during the ambush phase, then poison triggers after the ambush phase. So it's like, boom, nailed it. If you run the boss and you run ambush cards and you poison something with the boss, that doesn't trigger at the end of the ambush phase. And so I'm like, BS. Because in my mind, I was like, that's it. This is what this card's going to do. I'm going to run like 7 weekends and I'm just going to poison something and kill it in turn 0. Because let me be real with you guys. In real trading card games, when you start messing with your opponent before the game even starts, it feels good. It feels really good.
So
when you figured out the rules to just like go beyond the scope there. But yeah, it doesn't work. You have
interesting. I
to
didn't
So
realize that.
even when what you're saying is when there is a round 0 present because of an ambush ability
Yeah,
on the table, the
exactly.
poison doesn't proc until the end of round 1.
Nope. The poison has to be stuck by a monster in order for it to proc in 0.
And did you guys know that
Huh.
I just saw this the other pretty sure I saw this the other day that like I guess like so for like Lily, for instance, will heal a back row in turn 0, like right before turn 1.
She will? Like when you do an
I haven't
ambush?
noticed that.
I
See,
had this
that's
the
not
other
fair.
day where like
Well,
I used a ambush on someone's back row and they were playing or like because they had a taunt in the back row.
Mm-hmm.
And I like played a couple sneak cards and Lily healed it right before turn 1 started.
Wow.
yeah, that feels like big inconsistency there.
I
Yeah.
was like, wait, what was the
if-
point of that? It didn't like at the end of it did like it didn't do, I was like, oh man, yeah. So like keep an eye out for that. Like yeah, and it was one of those things where I was like, that I guess I don't know. So I wanted to see if other people had noticed that or if I'm just crazy
Yeah.
or yeah.
In my
no.
mind, they should, right? Like turn 0 is essentially the new turn, right? All of the but I mean, I guess there's other aspects to that that really don't happen. So like if you run ambush in an earthquake or a noxious fumes match, neither of those trigger in the
Right.
turn 0. So like there's just overall there's things that trigger and there's things that don't, and I don't think it makes sense.
That's a great call. Yeah, it should be. Assumedly, you should get an earthquake and a round of poison if there's a round 0, right?
That would be the sneaky thing to do with ambush.
Mm.
That would give
Yeah.
ambush a lot more power to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's speculate on some of the legendary summoner stuff a little bit more. Are there some abilities that because reality is we're going to be getting the first one in what after 3 months, I guess we'll be getting it in April.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
And we'll have the full distribution by I guess October. So it's exciting to think that versus Chaos Legion, I think we went a stretch of, gosh, 6 months, 8 months between airdrops, and that's going to be, that's a thing of the past. So we'll be getting these legendary summoners sooner than later. Is there an ability that you would love to see more than others? I think Force Field would be a really cool one to bring in.
Like as a tactic.
as a tactic.
I
Yeah.
guess yeah, that's for sure. In the context of this, we need to like we're talking tactics or like across the board type of abilities.
Yeah, and
Yeah, tactics.
do we know for sure it's going to be they're going to be like dual color tactics and an ability? Is that kind of
No,
we don't really know that yet,
we
right?
have no idea.
Yeah.
Well, a little preview into the People's Guild's future. We've got Yaba coming on next week and Call Me Tim the week after.
What?
So potentially some alpha.
Let's
Tune in.
go.
Tune in the next couple of weeks.
Congratulations, you two. Wow.
Hey, thanks, man.
I mean, a little low from this week, but you know, you're doing all right.
No, man. We went into the we went don't sell yourself short, rope. We went into the year thinking we it's been a long time since we had talked fun gameplay stuff, taking a deep dive, and who better to kick that off with than you and Virus. So yeah, don't
appreciate
sell
it.
yourself short, brother. We'd love to see you here, man. But yeah, so let's talk, assuming that tactics is in play, force field would be a really cool one. Perhaps a martyr. Some of these
Yeah.
abilities that because we didn't see any force field, we didn't see any martyr in the full rebellion set. Maybe a bloodlust could be cool.
Oh, that'd be interesting. Yeah, timing a bloodlust would be really cool.
Wow.
Redemption.
Redemption
feel
would be
like-
awesome.
Yeah. I feel like the way the meta kind of is right now, we're gonna need an oppress and a
Yep.
scatter shot, right? Like that would be
Ugh, I
As a
hate
tactic?
scatter. Does anybody
I
else
know,
hate
I hate it too.
scatter?
I hate it, like you said, RNG. I hate the
just-
lack of control. But I mean, there are times when you get into a match where you could see it and say, this is someone's playing a G Smith and with a Lily, and you know what, a scatter on a card would really help me out right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that said, Yasik is king and champ. He is so good and so vital in
Yeah.
just
Yeah, no,
the
he's
speed with the scatter shot. The Countess is a must-have killer card with the blast. Yeah, scatter shot would be cool.
I think
I
it
would
would be
say,
interesting. Right? Yeah.
taunt. Taunt might be an interesting one.
Or
Throwing
Fury, yeah. Because I mean, if you see
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
one of those ones where you never know if you really need it, right? And it's hard to
Mhm.
some cards have it and they're great, but I don't know. I never really know if I'm actually going to need it, and so I'm hesitant to spend the some of those cards are higher amount of cards. I just don't know if you're really going to
You're
be
saying Fury?
worthwhile. Yeah,
Fury?
Yeah.
Yeah. Most of the time I get Fury as, it's like a happy accident. I'll a great example is the death Skoke Dustblight, the
Scope
weapons
Dustblight.
trigger.
Yeah. I always forget
I
that card
don't
has
play
that.
her. Yeah, I don't play that card for Fury ever.
Fury, right? Yeah.
But when it happens, it's a nice accident. But there's other
Mhm.
cards like the heavy hitting neutral Rift Watchers ranged guy.
The Rune Crafter.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is such a great card when you're expecting Slip Spawn or Wave Brood or
He's a long tail. He's like a long tail killer too, because he's got the net and that. I feel like he was put in to try to balance out long tail, even though I feel like I play long tail a lot and I rarely ever see him.
Yeah. Yeah, a press is a great call. That would be, and we were talking about this last week. I feel, and this question is certainly going to come up when we get Call Me Tim on the call. I feel like Nomos. I still feel like Nomos was such a poopy summoner. Never ever see it. And I feel like Dispel had to be assigned prior to the weapons training adjustments.
The biggest issue with Nemos is there's just I think it could be fixed if you could neg magic to 0. Like if you could take it to 0, then that would be beneficial because there's nothing super big in magic shots. Like 3 is really where everything kind of caps out, right? And so if you're looking at a team, what are the odds they're bringing like 2 things above 3? If they're bringing 2 magic things above 3, you're probably getting magic swarmed, and like your 2 things you're gonna neg aren't gonna really help. So, but if you were able to like completely erase a Dr. Blight, That would be cool. If like Dr. Blight went to 0 magic attack. That'd be
Would
sick.
Dr. Blight still be able to stick an affliction or a poison?
We would have to create rules on how intense Dr. Blight can stare at its opponent. Like a glare or a leer from Pokemon. Just Dr. Blight uses leer. Yeah. Poison.
Yeah, I feel
I
like another way around to what you're saying is instead of -2 magic to 2 monsters, plus void to 2 monsters would be potentially a
Yeah.
workaround there.
yeah, I can see that.
Are you against the team kind of going back and adjusting cards once they've been released? What's your I feel like you've
Yeah.
got a strong opinion there, Rogue.
I don't. I mean, I do, but I no, I don't think they should go back and adjust, in my opinion. And I actually really appreciate that the team has always actually done a really good job of kind of creating more stuff to kind of combat whatever they've come up with that's wrong. But honestly, they also, they have these other sinks, where stuff goes to die. But at the end of the day, like I've played Namos. I've played him 3 times when exactly like you talked about last week when it was Wands out and red was my only option.
Yeah.
Yay, I own a Namos. So, it still finds its place. But like when they created Reflection Shield for Jotun, like they didn't go in and nerf Jotun, like that hurts as a consumer, and especially because you can't undo the swarm of buying that happens
Yeah.
once a meta is established. And when the company decides that they can just change this thing that you bought and make it not do what it was originally doing, and you spent good money on it because it was doing good things, and they've taken that away. Like it's different than like they create Reflection Shield and now there's a counter to Jotun. Jotun price drops a little bit. Hypothetical. I don't think it actually happened. But that's different than like just completely changing the physical card, or the digital card.
Mm.
So yeah, I would say no, because they can't make everything a winner at the end of the day. And I don't expect them to. There's not a single trading card game that I've ever played that every card is awesome, and needed. I think Splinterlands is actually the closest to creating a game where every card actually has a purpose and a place. Um, every other trading card game I've played has what's called bulk, and you don't do anything with bulk. So yeah, no, I'm not mad. Don't change them.
What about abilities though? We've seen adjustments to some abilities.
Yeah,
Weapons training, dispel. We saw cripple. You weren't able to dispel the cripple at a certain point. And would you see that? I mean, I just see like this new. I remember the first time I played my lurking puffer with corrosive ward. Let me try that out. And I was going up against a forgotten one, and it didn't take out a shield. I'm like, why is immunity? Why is he immune? Why is his shield immune to corrosion? How does that make sense? Why is immunity immune to snare, which is like thematically some of the like I understand like, oh, you just want to say immunity is immune to all debuffs, but like thematically it just doesn't make sense, some of these things. Like I think,
yeah.
so how do you feel about that? Like adjustments to whole sort of abilities, which is them kind of doing the same thing, and it's definitely affecting the value of cards, but sometimes it makes sense. Like that weapons training thing just it changed a lot,
It did,
the
and
changes they made in weapons training.
I'm glad they did weapons training when they did, because nobody's purchased a weapons training card except for Zerial. I
Mm-hmm.
think Zerial is the only weapons training card that's been purchased at this point. So like everything else is still, locked behind Soulbound. So I
And
was I
arguably
was
they made
happy
it
about
more
that.
valuable and not less valuable with that change, right? So people
Oh,
couldn't
the
really.
Yeah,
price
yeah, they
doubled
did.
pretty much overnight. Yeah.
Yeah. But I prefer the ability adjustments. Um, and I don't mind how sparingly they do them. Like our company's not changing the game every month, which is good. That means they're at least relatively confident in what they've created, and I enjoy that stability. Like we talked about just getting onto a stability of printing cards and like what it all looks like. Stability is good in a game. We should know what to expect. Like it took a really long time to rewire when you weren't able to use opportunity in the no sneak matches anymore. Like Fog of War put opportunity in there too. And when I started, that wasn't a thing. So there's a lot of reprogramming that has to happen when they make adjustments like that. But I do believe that they're necessary sometimes. Because yeah, thematically sometimes they're just not right. And I personally think immunity probably needs the next look because I think you're right. There's too many things that can't affect these things. And the fact that some of these immunities can now, as these summoners are coming out, they can get the fact that Grimbardoon Smith can have Void Shield and Heal is that's big. That's big. And repair in
And
champion.
repair, yeah.
Repair, shields, which you can't corrosive, shield, void, and you can give it heal with a summoner now for 11 mana as your floor. That's when you almost got to look at like, okay, is immunity something that is just, is it too sticky at this point? Because yeah, that's kind of where I'm feeling there. But yeah, I mean, what they did with the spell, what you guys are championing for Cripple, I agree. I think Cripple, which was actually one of the changes that they made. Originally, Cripple used to work on immunity, and now it doesn't, right?
I don't know. Did it used to work on?
I feel like back in the day, you used to cripple immunity, and then somebody literally came across like lore-wise and tried to explain why you can't cripple immunity or something.
Because I remember like dispel, you used to be able to dispel cripple, and people were like,
"That's what it was."
Yeah,
you're right.
Because you would have like
off.
the death snake that you could cripple someone a bunch, and then it get to the front row, and then it would just kind of like
yeah, that's right.
You were able to dispel it or something, and then it would. I think it was probably like a Lomicron issue too, right? Like mostly where all of a sudden like Kron is now the cripple's gone. He's got last stand. He's got self heal. He's been cleansed of the cripple, and he's unstoppable. I know that was like the change, and then the way they described the change, they're like, "Oh yeah, it doesn't make sense because it's like broken bone. You can't just
broken
bone."
You can't cleanse
I was like, "Well,
bones.
I understand being immune to poison, being immune to other things, but can't be immune to broken bone. And maybe there's like it's a different ability, right? It's a different ability where you have iron bones or something. You can't be crippled. Like there's an ability that prevents you from being crippled, but it probably shouldn't be immunity because that just
Wolverine ability.
Yeah, right.
Let's go with an exoskeleton.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, maybe that's pigeonholed for items and spells.
It would be nice. I would love a back to basics spell. That would be sick. Okay, listen. How cool would that be? Where you could just like assign back to basics to like hey, there you go. Let's put that on one of your summoners here coming out. Just the like, you have no abilities. Like I choose, you have no abilities.
Interesting. Okay, that's interesting.
I'm gonna make Jangles love back to basics.
Not a whole, not like a whole rule set, not like the whole team, but you can assign it to a monster. Like you
be
just
like, that guy.
Yeah, that's a very hard counter to Grimbardoon right there. But it said bye Void, bye repair,
bye a lot.
Yeah.
Dr. Blight in the back doing nothing except for 2 magic damage
and leering.
Cool.
And leering.
Yeah, and he ain't even hidden. He's the sneak target now.
Oh right. Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah, no, I think there's a lot. Oh, Chaos Dragon. Oh, I'd love the basic Chaos Dragon.
Oh man, take away the blind
and the blast.
Yeah,
and the scatter. He's just 14 magic 3 or 14 mana 3 magic guy. Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, make it happen. Very expensive meat shield now.
I need to talk to somebody that knows is building a summoner. Oh, hey, I know a guy. Let's go talk to Lorcus. I'm gonna
Yeah,
text him right now.
is he part of the? He's not part of the YGG SPL buy, is he? He's got his own.
No, he did. Yeah, he did it all on his own. Yep.
Secondhand news. Are you able to share if he's, or do you know if he started working on that with the team?
Yes. He is the guys have been brought in on starting to build something. I don't know details, but I know that the process has started, but NDAs and all that stuff,
Sure.
they has to be quiet.
Yeah.
But I
Well,
can
it's
just
good to know that
poke him
yeah,
back to
we talked about it
basics.
last week. It kind of drove me crazy that, like I think Immortalis was a great example where the airdrop was next week and it was still in the process of, oh, we're finalizing abilities and stats. Like, come on. Like we should have all that stuff designed well in advance and
Mhm.
yeah,
And
use
that was
reward
one of
cards to provide balance, not legendary summoners that are part of a core set.
yeah. Yeah, that was one of the things that they talked about earlier was like, yeah, there was like, yeah, you never know what it like we'll see what the meta is and we'll design it. I'm like, this isn't like I didn't appreciate that so much because like I don't know. I know South Park does it well. They only make their episodes like 1 week at a time, like and they just don't know what they're making until that Monday of. But like I don't like that in my legendary summoners. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, and that's the thing too. I mean, well, I guess, definitely on the list of things to talk to him about is maybe now they're kind of you should kind of know from your own play testing what the meta is going to be, right?
mhm.
Like
Yeah, I don't know if
you
Call
got to
Me
be able to figure
Tim.
this stuff out.
I don't know if he's ever mentioned that he's an avid player. We run across Yabamat plenty, but I don't know if
You
Call
would
Me
think they've
Tim
got to
is.
have their own test servers, right? Because how, like, if he's got to be balancing all these cards, I mean, I guess we'll find more about this in a couple of weeks. But if he's got to be balancing all these cards, he's got to be playing
Playing.
with them, right? You can't just do it on like a piece of paper, right?
You would think so. We'll find out. Well, I'm glad that you're gonna get your soapbox front and center, Hep, and we can preach the immunity to the man that's
Get
designing all
it.
that stuff. Let's see
I'll
what.
sign the bill. I'll
Yeah.
sign the bill.
So I want to talk real quickly, Rogue. Your SPS stuff. Did you have that set according to gold, and how have you gone about? Did you use some of the Gap program winnings to help
I did
supplement
not.
that? Are you renting? Are you getting
Did not.
benefactored?
I am benefactored. I am very blessed. The first time again, like talking about Lorcus and that $10 that I got sent on Ethereum, um, Matt Clark, uh, all of a sudden delegated me 100,000 SPS. And this was after I did the 101 podcast and we talked and we had a great show and great time and then all of a sudden like I did a battle and like I got way more rewards in that battle than I was supposed to. I'm like, what the hell's going on? I'm like searching around and I'm like, I don't know what's happening. And then I see this big 100K sitting like big green number, 100K delegated to me. And I'm like, what is that? It's like that is nuts. And yeah, I didn't ask. I didn't and he blessed me with it and it hasn't been removed from me since. And so I'm every day grateful that he's kind of parked that in my account. I wish, there was something that could be done, proactively for him, for doing that because I know that was part of the original vision, right? Is these big SPS whales were supposed to be able to, identify talent and like stake on them and be able to, there's an SPS reward pool for that, So, but yeah, I appreciate that he's kind of doing that for me without anything back. Matt Clark is awesome. And then yeah, Lorcus gave me 80K to round it out. As soon as I got up to champion, yeah, as soon as I got to champion one, we were looking at about 8 times the reward. And so with an extra 80, it was getting up closer to 9, 10. And so
Beautiful.
yeah. Yeah, and he said,
Oh,
when he was looking at his SPS, he didn't really take a big hit for that 80K. So yeah, very, very blessed. Being taken care of by, two of the bigger players in the ecosystem, and it feels good, but it also I don't feel like I'm running a traditional scholarship because I don't want to stay like this. I don't want to stay um using other people's resources to play at the top levels. Um and so everything that I'm doing at this point is to build this account to do it on my own eventually. And I'm blessed and I appreciate the people that are helping me do it sooner than my own means were going to allow me to do it. And so,
no.
yeah, shout out Lorcas and Matt Clark. Appreciate you too.
Beautiful, man. Yeah, Matt Clark, the man of many nicknames. SPS Fairy. Tack that one on there. Hopefully he a hears this and isn't reminded of 100K
And
delegation
you're
and
just like,
pulls
oh
it
yeah,
back.
that's
He's like,
what
"Oh
I
crap, I
was.
forgot about that. Sorry about that." But yeah, man, I think to your point, a lot of the OGs, and this speaks to kind of the larger sentiment of the OG crowd in this game is uh they're
Yeah.
so happy to pay it forward and invest
Mhm.
in the guys like you who you champion the game any chance you get. I certainly miss you running the YGG shows and your SPL TV segments. You're one of the good guys to have on our team, and you understand the game. And um, I think it's hard to listen to somebody like you and not take an interest in what's happening on the board. So I think Lorcas and Matt Clark have to see that and see it as you as a way to continue that sentiment of paying it forward. So yeah, shout out to those guys. Very cool, man.
Shout out to a friend of the podcast, Azercron, too. Another one of those guys who's always out there helping people out, helping us out. He's helped us out so much. It's yeah, it's awesome that we have those people in the community. And those guys who've been around forever, and guys sitting on a lot of assets and could just take them and run, but or use them greedily for themselves to
Yeah.
just kind of raise their own prospects and get themselves more money. But they're out there helping people out. Azakron helping out with delegations. He does, runs a bunch of scholar accounts too, which is awesome. And he, he's on here talking about how he got, he wanted to make sure he got like 3 or 4 full sets of rebellion sets so he can
Mhm.
make sure all his scholars had everything they needed for modern. So when he even said himself, he's like, I don't think the it's not the most, probably not the most cost efficient way to get cards, but he wanted to make sure he did that to support the game and make sure the people he worked with had what they needed on day one ready to go, which is awesome. So yeah, those guys are great. A lot of guys like that out there.
And it's a
Hopefully,
testament to the community too. And that's, hats off to the team for making a place that allows for that kind of behavior to flourish. It's not only Splinterlands, it's the Hive blockchain too, especially with Azarcon's story, what he's doing on the Hive blockchain and knowing where Aggie and Matt came from, it's like they've taken this crypto technology and they've really built something that is the best, I mean the best crypto experience that I've had, in learning and in growing. Like they've created something that is in my opinion it's bear proof. Like that's how that's where play with your bags comes from. It's like this whole bear market's been flipping awesome for me. Like I came in the bull, everyone was like, ah, and now everybody's like sad, and I'm not. I'm not. I've had something to do this whole time. I've had something to build. I've had I've worked for the company, like it's just my journey in the last the last 2 years has been nuts. And the fact that it's been 2 years. Holy crap. My
Yeah.
account here, if we look at it, I think it was September of 2021 or something like that. Let me look. September 2021.
Wow.
That was
That's
a
like
while ago.
highest of highs too. Yeah.
I came in high.
Yeah. So
But
when you say you remember those high Oceanus days, yeah, you're not
oh yeah. No, and it
selling
was
it short there.
I mean, but that's yeah, since then it's just been it's been an amazing journey, and I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot about the blockchain. I've learned a lot about, about wealth and about asset management and about, like what it means to be here. Um, and yeah, still eternally grateful for Splinterlands and for Hive and for Matt and Aggie and everything that's been created here because this has been awesome.
Oh
Absolutely
yeah.
awesome.
Well, I mean, that's a great story of reflection, and I think the three of us are all kind of in lockstep with that general feeling looking back. And the bear was brutal. On a daily basis, you would see, gosh, pores and pores of salt everywhere you look, pretty much. Um, but I think the bottom of the bear is behind us. Fingers crossed, and you know things are things are looking up. They were looking more up about a month ago when SPS got really close to that 4 cent mark. We've since
The
dropped down a little bit, but yeah, a couple steps back, and hopefully we're right back on our way to a better and bigger 2024.
Still double what it was. So
Yeah, yeah,
it
yeah.
could re-entrench a little bit further, and we'd still, it's still not
Still
still all
be
right.
2x.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mhm.
yeah.
So looking at 2024, and we've heard the major focus is planned for UX, new user experience, UI. Is there something that kind of sticks out in your mind, Rogue, that you're most excited about to hopefully see get ticked off in the coming months?
I mean, honestly, the thing that I'm most looking forward to is the plan for Soulbound reward unlocking. I think just the plan, the first execution, and the timeline for the future, I think is key. I mean, it's what I've been most looking forward to for a while now. And so once we get that information, I think that'll be something that will be a lot easier to communicate, to people coming in. It's like, this is where we're at, this is where we're going, this is what we're doing. Right now, there's nothing I can tell somebody. It's like, yeah, we're getting these things. I have no idea what we're gonna be able to do with them. Um, Hell, I'm still of the opinion that, they've talked about Gladius, you know, and so that's still in my mind. It's like there's a chance like we'll unlock Gladius cards. You know what that's gonna look like? Holy
That
crap.
gold foil core is going to be worth a
There you
Oh
whole
go.
yeah,
lot
it
more
will.
than 12,000 DEC for burn.
Oh
That's
my
for sure.
goodness.
Yeah.
I almost flipped on Mondroid, or I did. I did flip on Mondroid. I sent him quite a few angry text messages. He opened up like a gold foil legendary in his Gladius, and he's like, "Yeah, 50K DEC," and I'm like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa! You no, you do not burn that thing." He did. He did in a heartbeat.
Wow.
He didn't even think about it. He's like, "Rebellion packs." I was I'm like, holy crap. I was like, dude, if they ever unlock, like, you might regret that. Like, these things, there's not a lot in
Yeah.
circulation.
I burned
Woof.
mine too.
No,
I
I
burned mine
know. I
too.
think I heard you do it once on a
Yeah.
podcast too. I was
Oh,
like, oh,
really?
Yeah, I had the I forget her name, but the life legendary.
I mean, and it's appealing right now because like you could burn one of those and fully work a piece of land. Like I understand that there are things right now that you have to balance, but like, oh man, I
Well,
just
to be fair, I also have a gold foil Cora, and she has remained untouched. and
Untouched.
I've never played it. I've only got the one BCX, and I've got the other. Fortunately, I've been lucky to pull enough to get. I'm damn near level 4 Cora at this point. But yeah, on the very off chance that Gladius cards do get unlocked, yeah, I'm holding out for doing
Yeah,
anything with that Cora.
so this is the crazy part. The gold foil legendaries in Gladius, there's only 100.
Wow.
Only like 100 of each one.
That's
111 BCX, 102.
Because that's what, like, if people are gonna unlock that, like, who's gonna sell, right? Like, who's
Oh, I am 100%. What am I gonna do with like
sell?
one BCX of a gold foil? I'm
But
gonna hit up a whale and I'm gonna be like, hey buddy, hey.
Well, there's those diamond gold foil phrase where
yeah,
Yeah.
that's a leg up.
true.
And if
There
you're
are
competing
gold
at
foil decks that are just itching for that to happen.
Mm.
And I will be there to feed them with like 5 that I have. I only have 5. I do have one legendary though.
Which one?
Sola? I
That's
think
the one.
no.
That's the one that I burned.
Is that the life?
Yeah.
Well, she became more valuable. You're welcome, Rogue.
Dude, I'm telling you, I'm looking at this. They've burned yeah, there's been oh my goodness, yeah, 34. A lot of that supply. 44, 49, 37. Like you guys aren't the only ones. Like there's a third of each of these. Like people are just pulling and burning. So wow.
What about
Yes.
Core's numbers? Is she close to that same?
Let's see. That's funny. All right. No, she is the least burned of all of the epics. So, Marisol's got 200. She's got 100.
Wow.
100 burned copies of Gold Foil Cora.
Wow.
Oh, my head. So we've got, but yeah, everything else 217, 218, 243. Gorth.
Gorth. Yeah, that guy's getting sent straight to the furnace, man.
Has anybody ever played a Gorth in a match?
I'd burn a Gorth. I'd burn a Gorth.
Man, I feel like Gorth is not, comparative to Cora, Gorth is nothing. But I feel like a Gorth Yasic play, because he gets enraged at the top end. He's not subject to giant killer. He can be an absolute beast with piercing.
But think about it now. We're already starting to see it. We're like the Yasic play with Crash. You put Crash in a weapons trainer, and that dude's you can't touch him.
Lights
You
out.
can't
Yeah.
touch him. He's nuts.
Mm.
But yeah. Anyway, yeah, gold foils. But yeah, the unlocking of soulbounds. That's my big thing for 2024. I feel like it's the next step that is kind of just half unresolved at this point. And it was, in my mind, a promise that was made a year ago that we have no details on at this point. And that's the most tied into our game at this point. I know Soulbound still, or I know Soul Keep is still there, but they're on pace with Land. I think Land is satiable at this point. And so yeah, I think it's the unlocking of Soulbound cards for me. How about you?
Oh, I think it's got to be the UX UI for me. I would love to see a revamp. It just feels like there's, especially because I've been using Baron's Toolbox, Baron's Toolbar, pretty much indefinitely since, gosh, I guess the better part of the last year. On occasion, I've had to pull the plug from Baron's Toolbar, and just the user experience is it leaves so much to be desired. I'd love to see a revamp of how the battle actually unfolds. If we've got this beautiful card artwork and it takes up, you see 25% of the screen during battle is actually being used by these cards.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's just a lot of experience aesthetic tweaks I think we can make. I am excited for the Soulbound stuff. I think that's big. I think Lands, there's a lot of folks that I think would put Land at the number one for, I think the grain LPs is a big piece. Land surfing is a big
Yeah.
piece.
Do you
that we're
think they'll
missing.
actually do land surfing?
I think so.
I think
Originally
it's
we heard about that from Hardpoint, and then we went months without hearing anything about land surfing. And my initial assumption with the second round of layoffs was land surfing went
yeah,
with Hardpoint, but we've
I
since heard
agree.
Matt mention it
Oh, really?
at least a couple of times. Yeah, so I think it's still on the table for what would it be, 1.6 or 1.7, whatever that iteration is, somewhere between now and 2.0.
Yeah.
Um,
I like what the company's been trying to do. They've tried to say like and I hope we get away from it. The 1.6, 1.7, 1.8, 1.9, 2.0. Like they've basically said like many times they're like we want to stop. It's just we're gonna make updates. It's just updates coming. Here's this update and this update because yeah, at this point there's like I don't know how many things they said for 1.5 that didn't make it that are now but before 2.0. So it's like yeah, I'm on camp just do updates when they come. Like I'm looking forward to the team being able to actually just one thing at a time, instead of these big like here's this other land thing. Like if they can do grain LPs by itself, that's great.
Yeah.
yeah.
If they can get the titles going by itself, it's great.
Are you playing the land game, Rogue?
Hmm. I am now. I wasn't actively. So I was I had 5 plots in Gankland, and it was just plots that I've kind of accumulated over the years. Like the first plot I got was from Stever when I was doing the podcast with Luke, and there was that one podcast. All of a sudden, he's like, "Hey, I sent you guys a tract of land." It was like $250 at the time, and I'm like,
Wow. Yeah.
"What?" Yeah. So Stever is another one that was like that, like generously just pouring on us, and
At peak values
so.
too. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. He was, yeah. And he was like, "Yeah, I got it for free for staking on Ethereum." And I was like, "Oh, you guys are awesome." And so yeah, and then I've gotten a couple else over the time. And so I ended up with 5 plots and I had them all in Gankland because Gank has the right idea of surrounding himself with active players to work his region. Totally makes sense. I said the first whale that came out publicly and wanted to do that, I would do it. And he was the one. So I was like, let's go. And then with the exit from YGG SPL, I ended up accidentally with a keep.
Oh boy.
So now I own a keep. And so yeah, I ended up having to get with I got with Gank. I was like, "Hey, buddy, I said I was gonna like work your land as like priority one, but I own a keep now on accident, so I am gonna have to sell out of Gankland. So I'm no longer in Gankland. We're in 97, which was the other half of the YGG SPL tracks or the regions. And so yep, I have a keep there and 2 plots just working uh grain right now. But yeah, so that was an interesting part because in the exit, because the DAO assets were so heavy in land, I wanted cards. I wanted cards as part of my exit. And we weren't able to actually get as many cards or like the value of the token if you went cards versus land it was heavily diluted because of the percentages and all that so like at the end of the day the math was I could have land at like full value or take a huge head cut and get cards. They'd be untamed cards, they wouldn't even be modern, so it was going to be weird. So I was looking at it and I'm like, okay, well, I can't actually afford to run land. So like you can't give me 100 plots. Like I can't run 100 plots. I can't do this. I need to just get the most expensive single plot that I can. And then I can work one plot. That's what I can do. I can work a plot and that's gonna be my strategy because I'm still player focused. I still am building up my deck. That's still where all my money's going. I'm not pouring into land. So that was essentially how we ended up there was like my stake in YGG SPL weighted based on the exit. The biggest thing that I could get was the keep. And I was like, all right, I am now an owner of a keep. So it's cool. It's an asset I had no idea and had zero plans to ever own. But now I do. So
Wow,
Wow, what
man.
kind of production power are you running out of that thing right now? Are you still trying to build that up, or
God, you're trying to embarrass me on. I said I can't afford to work.
Oh,
I am
that
probably the least productive keep. But yeah, I want to say I got like 5 epics at level 2 on it. So yeah, what's my PP? So
well,
looking at
another reason to be excited for unlocking soulbounds, right? I'm sure you've
yes,
got
yeah,
some gold foils that you can
yes, I do.
part ways with.
Yep. And so yeah, I can't tell. I'm looking at
yeah?
it. I've got like a tax rate of 28.4 and yeah, so each of these is doing about 1,300. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 60. Oh, there it is, 6,600. So
So do you get a cut of just grain right now, or is it grain and SBS and
I get a little bit of everything. So I get
nice?
a little bit of SPS, a little bit of grain, and or a lot more grain, but a little bit of SPS and a little bit of research.
Yeah.
I'm doing research on one of my other plots. I'm doing research and I'm doing grain. But yeah, it's mainly grain. And there's not even of this track, there's not a lot of it being worked right now because it was part of the exit. So, you know, a lot of the players here are still ramping up. Knight, I think is still a big one in this region, but there's still some people in here from brawlers. So like KV's got some stuff over here. Um, so but it'll ramp up, and that's what I'm not even in this phase of 1.5. I'm not even worried about it right now. Like I've got a Rooney that I'm not putting on land. Like I value it more as a card that I play with than at its 100% based on what I currently own. Um, when 1 point or when 2.0 comes out and like the resources are a little bit more, then yeah, we'll see what it looks like from there. But
Hmm.
yeah.
Shoot, man. Well, we've kind of slowly made our way to the YGG SPL split. I think I'll speak on behalf of all of YGG SPL and say we lost a great community member with you heading out the door. Was there any attempt to if you're comfortable in saying so, was there
Yeah.
was there any attempt to bribe you over to one of the brawler guilds or otherwise and keep you around?
No, not so much. I have a lot of respect for the brawlers. They're all fantastic players, absolutely fantastic players. Um, and there was one that I actually felt really drawn to. Um, I felt like he kind of embodied he embodied everything that competitive Splinterlands was all about. And when we were before the exit, he was actively like, "Hey, come take a look at the brawlers. Hey, come take a look at the brawlers." And I loved he brought me into the Discord for a minute. I took a look around. I think the brawlers actually have a fantastic run organization. And their focus on the game and competition is on point. So if I was just a free floating player that didn't already have like heartstrings attached to other people, um, I would 100% be in the brawlers because they're running a competitive structure that I would appreciate, and I would never ride the pine. I apologize, Bejangles, but I would never ride the pine if I was in
You
there.
dogs. You dogs.
But yeah, dishonesty was awesome. While we were like the whole time that we were in YGGSPL, anytime we ran against each other, there was even a moment where we were playing each other in the same phrase. That was pretty fun. He used to put bounties on my head, which was pretty cool. You know,
I
anybody that
fully
takes
expect
out,
those to continue. I expect those to continue. It was
well, I don't.
gold. I think it was gold foil stonefish that we would put on Rogue specifically. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. Yeah, so yeah, if anybody took me down in a fray whenever the YGG fighting ill and I was fighting the Sniffleheimers. And yeah, we I did well a lot of the times, and so there was very few people that got away from the bounty, but you know, when it happened, it was cool. And then yeah, Nameless, another awesome guy. He parked like 300 or some hardy stonefish in my account. It is the most annoying thing that you could do. So remember how we were talking about the generous things you can do with blockchain, and like you just stake SPS on somebody, send them $10. You can also just
I
park a
guess there's
bunch
an
of fish
opposite
in
side
their
of the
accounts.
spectrum for that.
You know what it's like scrolling through Peak Monsters with 360 stonefish, just like a whole wall of stonefish you have to scroll through. I, it was, oh man. But yeah, he delegated me like a single BCX, bunch of hardy stonefish. But yeah, no, and they're honestly great guys. You know, I ended up you know, I KV was always one that we were playing in silver forever together. We've been competing forever. And so, you know, always respected him. And then now that I'm up in champion, I feel like I'm going against a lot of the dudes that I really never got to compete with often. So I'm finding AJPL quite a bit. We talked about Mays, seeing him, Antoni. I think that's maybe how you pronounce his name. Josie, run across her quite a bit. But yeah, it's you know, the Brawler organization is competitive, and I really appreciate them for that. But yeah, with my heart being, you know, in a lot of the more underdog places, right? Like that legacy guild that I was with in the very beginning, that was from the beginning. I had three friends from there, we grew with and just kind of merged from there, and I just kept bringing people, and yeah, so I couldn't just wasn't at a point where I could just go and do my own. You know, I couldn't just go selfishly chase whatever I wanted to do, you know. So that was generally kind of where I was at there. But yeah, no, mad respect to the Brawlers and the organization that they got going on. And if I was there, yeah, I would be very happy in that organization. But
Sniffleheimers, you dirty bastard.
dude, you know what's hilarious? That was Hellraven. Hellraven did that once. He's like, we gotta take down these sniffle. So I was like, dude, oh, that's amazing. That is perfect. So, but but yeah, the exit from YGG SPL, I think it was you know, it was really clear for me. I like the line was drawn essentially where it was brawlers and non-brawlers is essentially the way that split ended up going down. And realistically, that line had kind of been there for the entire course of, you know, YGG SPL. Not by any fault of anybody's. I think it was a community that we tried to keep a lot of involvement in, but at the end of the day, the majority of the involvement was coming from brawlers. And so it was just heavily weighted in terms of there, and with your guys' own Discord where all the game activity and the fun stuff was kind of, you guys were just talking amongst yourselves. It's hard to have that in two Discords. I've been in four different Discords, and like you can't, if you have a game that you want to share, you're not sharing that in five Discords. You know what I mean? You're sharing it with just a couple people, you know. And that was essentially kind of where we ended up with there. So when the split came, the main custodian, that was essentially, he was the major shareholder of YGG SPL, and he was the custodian. He was the one running the accounts and doing everything in the background, with the will of the DAO. He wasn't running on his own, but when he said he's done, I mean, I was just like, well, fuck, I guess, I guess we're done. So that was kind of in my opinion, that was a lesson in blockchain that realistically we were running on faith because realistically we had a custodian, we had somebody that had well over 50% share. And exactly what happened could have happened at any moment. Like he, with the weighted stake, has the ability to make a proposal and decide based on his will, and for 2 years, he always stayed out of all the votes and just did the will of, the people. But at any moment, like, and so that was a risk. And so when he exited, I was like, I don't know what this is going to look like after. And it was just at the end of the day, when I started YGG I had a vision on what it was going to kind of look like, and that never fully developed. So then pair that with, my life and 4 kids and all that. And I think it was just time all the stars were aligned to, be with the exit crew. So.
Well, I mean, it is what it is, and it's good to hear that you're in a spot where you've got your homies sticking around, and I think in hindsight, um, seeing how YGGSPL operated as a community, it's really fragmented outside of the brawlers. There isn't a great sense of community outside of the brawlers, and I
Exactly.
definitely count myself lucky for landing in the brawlers when we decided to kind of exit from the uh previous guild. So I've been fortunate in that I don't know what it is on the other side of YGSPL without being a community member on the brawler side. But yeah, like I said, man, I fully expect anytime we run into dragons that there's going to be some stonefish exchanged across the blockchain, and
I hope so.
you guys have a solid guild, man. You, Virus, Knight, Lorcus, you guys are
Yeah, did you guys even know like you interviewed 3 dragons in a row?
Tails too. Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you went
yeah.
Tails, Virus, me, and so yeah, it's a dragon party.
Dragon Party.
But yeah, we
Yeah.
part of the exit then was like that final merge, because Dragons hasn't Dragons has been a level 10 guild that hasn't staffed itself accordingly. And so they were gonna move to tier 4 again. And we had in Illinois, when we did tier 4, we were split pretty much where like a lot of our lower, like our silver players, our gold players were performing very well, but we were capped out at the top. We didn't have big whales that were like killing it. And Dragons was the opposite. It was the opposite. Their big dogs were killing it. They had no silver and gold players, and it was like, well, I mean, looks like puzzle pieces that fit perfectly together. And yeah, since the merge, I don't think we've been outside of top 3 at any moment, but there's still such a big difference between like the top 1 and top 2 and then us. Like there's still like the tier 4 guilds that are putting up like 75% win rates, 80% win rates, like 130, 40 wins to like 27 losses. And you're like, really? In tier 4? Holy crap.
Yeah,
And
how
so
do you
like us
compete with
in
that?
third place is still like there's still a long way to go before we could consistently 1-2. But rewards are great. We're still getting 120 SPS per brawl, and our merits are at least 3 booster packs per brawl. So, all is well.
Hmm, cool. Yep. Do you have a thought there?
No, I'm just like, yeah, I'm happy in my new home in the Brawlers, and yeah, I definitely my first brawl, I did not do well, and it was I had taken a Chaos Legion Rebellion set, and it was the first time the Rebellion set had just come out, and they was in the brawl, and I didn't do well, and I got benched. But actually, there was a spot that hadn't been ours. Is like if someone doesn't fill a spot within the last whatever hour, somebody can jump in, and I jumped in, and I've been doing fine ever since. So I got the the first brawl jitters out of the way. But yeah, it's yeah, it's great because I'll be like, oh yeah, did you like 5-2 most brawls? But that's like, yeah, I'm never in the top 3 or 5. Like everybody's like, we got like 7-1 and 6-1 guys going up there. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It's been great.
Good.
Yeah, it is super competitive, and shout out to the squad Sniffelheim. I think this last brawl, I'm replacing somebody that was maybe 4-3 or something like that. So it's not like a losing record that's
yeah.
relegated
That'll
to the
get you
bench
benched
in the next
like,
round.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
That's awesome.
All right, gents. Well, we're pushing the 2.5 hour mark. Maybe we've just surpassed that, but any kind of final thoughts you guys want to share before we part ways for the day?
I just want to say congratulations to you guys. I'm still in the chaos of my life. I've lost a lot of the YouTube content creators that I used to follow, but you guys are still, part of my regular routine. So,
Ooh.
your guys' format, your guys' conversation has stuck and survives father of four. So congratulations, you're father of four friendly. But and then Hep, I'm glad you jumped on board. I'm glad that Wasco was able to kind of run off and do his thing, and the People's Guild was able to continue. And you guys have to keep the show going for as long as you guys have. You guys are doing awesome, and I appreciate you guys. So keep it up.
Thanks, man. Yeah, appreciate that. It's great having such great guests on all the time. We are very lucky to have such a good community with not just other content creators out there coming on to talk to us, but be able to get members of the team on and be able to get players like yourself who just have a lot of things to share and great opinions that we love hashing it up with. So, we have the easier jobs. I feel like it's no one really cares what I have to say. So I'm just kind of here to kind of prod some stuff out of some of the guests sometimes, and it's just a lot of fun. So yeah, man, thanks for listening. Thanks for being on. Yeah, I love that's why I was always such a big fan. I love the podcast format as a father of two and someone with a dog, and someone who like bikes into work and stuff like that. It's like, it's great to kind of have that stuff where, I don't need to be like looking at something, on my computer, or like if I'm at work and I can listen to a podcast, but I can't necessarily like watch YouTube, video, hour long YouTube thing that easily. So yeah, man, thanks for listening. Glad you're still enjoying it. And, yeah, we feel very lucky to be here and being able to get such great guests all the time.
Yeah, I'm not sure how we ended up in this spot, but they continue to say yes to my annoying requests, so we'll continue to host the episodes. But yeah, thank you, man, for the high praise. That's certainly a compliment to what we're trying to do here, and the fact that you're able to still find time and make that time and take advantage of that time to tune into an episode is that's the highest compliment, brother. Absolute honor to host you, man. It's been far too long. We prior to hitting record at the beginning of the show, you were sharing some big positive life moves, and just happy to hear that things are moving in the right direction for you. It's great to come across you and in champ battles these days. I'm happy to hang my hat on probably a fairly even record at this point. We'll see if I'm able to hold that up, and I'm sure it won't be long before we face off with the dragons in one of these brawls. Hopefully I can manage to keep myself in a brawl and get to enjoy the fruits of those labors on the other side, man.
What fray are you doing? Are you doing like a diamond fray, or are you still doing gold frays? Or
Actually, I'm in the gold fray still.
all right, good. So then I'm gonna get myself one of those stonefish then.
Yeah, let's go. Fray 8. You come find me in Fray 8. And it's funny that Fray 8 is my home fray now because 8's been my favorite number forever. Cal Ripken Jr. was number 8, played for the Baltimore Orioles. He was the
Shout out
Iron
to
Man
the
of baseball.
Iron Man. I
Yep.
wasn't expecting a Cal Ripken shout out, dude. I love it. All
Oh
right.
hell yeah, number 8, baby. But
Let's
yeah,
see,
come find me in number 8.
Okay, yeah, I'll see if I can get it. I'm in 6. I've been doing the all card gold fray the last few times. I've really enjoyed kind of being able to use my wild card some more too, and it's kind of been fun, and I'm doing pretty well in it. So I was doing that freight or the whatever the other Chaos Legion Rebellion modern gold fray, but I don't know. I kind of gravitated to that the wild one recently. I'm kind of enjoying it to having a being able to play with my Lord Aranthus, Ruler of the Seas, all that stuff. It's been great. Yeah, even my Axe Master, playing with my Axe Master again just feels great, man. Like I said last week, it's like a Phantom Limb. I want to play that card all the time. So
Yep.
bust that guy back out.
Fun stuff. Well, always a good conversation, man. I always appreciate you making time, and hopefully we can, not let another year surpass us without having a rogue visit, man. Always appreciate you, brother. All right, everybody. Well, thank you for tuning in. It's been a lot of fun. Hope you enjoyed the show. We'll catch you next week. You have been listening to
The People's Guild.